across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there and welcome to the show. Alex Phillips here with you until 10 o'clock tonight, presenting on all manner of topics. We shall find out what they are in due course because, as you heard of my little handover, as we call it in the biz with Kev, I have sadly been at a funeral today, so I haven't been able to participate in the putting together of this show. So that's anything you don't like, basically. It's Dean's fault. But it's going to be a bit of a roller coaster ride. I must admit, though, even though you might think, wow, she's going to talk for 3 hours and she doesn't even know what's in the news, you would be mistaken. Because I woke up at 8 this morning and I read every single newspaper. And then on the train going back to Gloucester, I was listening to the news and messaging our Dean about the things I wanted in my run order. Don't think he's bothered putting any of them in. And then on the train back, I started reading the news but got chatting to a really lovely man called Derek, who used to be in the SAS. So we got nattering. But don't you worry, because I am across pretty much all of it. I'm always across things. You know me, I'm a nerd. Whenever anyone says, what's on television? Oh, you know, have you seen such and such a series, such and such a film? Have you heard of this person in the charts? I'm like, are they standing for election? No. Then the likelihood is I don't. Because basically, I just live in a world of news and politics. So you're still in semi-safe hands. But I might need a little bit of support and encouragement tonight, given that I've had a day away from the desk. So you can help me, can't you? That's right. Because you've just been all over X. You've been doom scrolling. You've wormholed on a lot of topics, haven't you? So come on, bring it forth. I want to know your thoughts and feelings on anything in the news. 03444 991 1000 is the magic number to get in Alex's good books. It also doesn't cost you anything because it's your normal network rate, or your abnormal network rate. If you happen to be calling Talk, that probably puts you in a special category of human being. You can also use that number to send me a WhatsApp message, or indeed leave me a voice note on WhatsApp. And you know how much I love a voiceo. It feels like when you have to talk continuously for 3 hours and all of a sudden someone else's voice just plays out for 60 seconds and you get to sit there. Oh, it's like a broadcast hour, 60 seconds. So do give me a little bit of respite, would you? And just hit that little microphone on the corner of WhatsApp and record your thoughts and feelings. And do you know what? If you're feeling creative, make it creative. There's nothing I like more than when people sing or rap or, I don't know, present me with a limerick. Some sort of beautiful little, you know, bespoke arrangement of vernacular. For my pleasure. You can also send me a text message. 87222 is the number if you are going to be old school, and if you are, your punishments for not getting on the apps is you have to write Talk before you send your text. Oh, look, John says it's nice to hear you on the airwaves. You're like a candle in the window on a dark, cold winter's evening. Well, I kind of look like one of those as well, don't I, to be honest? Thank you. Keep that coming. There's a good example. That was sent by SMS, can I just say. He had written the word Talk before his message, which is why it appeared on my screen. OK, without much further ado, let us get into the nitty-gritty of today's news, because Dean and I have put together a banquet of doom for you to enjoy. And we're going to be joined by the fantastic lawyer, Stephen Barrett. In fact, let's magic him up, shall we? Here he is. There he is. Oh, you're looking very beautifully medieval, as per usual, Stephen. How are you doing, my darling?
I'm doing very well. In fact, this may lift your spirits, but a young gentleman rose on the train to offer me his seat. I have no idea why, but it did happen.
Oh, did you read my angry
I did.
tweet?
I did.
So, for other people who don't understand that reference, I was on the tube, on the Jubilee line. It's rush hour. Everyone's all squeezed in like this. And I made the point that when you see a young, able-bodied man, usually working in the city, probably on a fairly decent wage, and his, you know, mummy's bought him his first suit, and he sits there, like, eyeballs deep in Angry Birds or something like this as the carriage fills up. Or even worse, when you see them get on and some sort of, some passengers stood up and there's a couple of frail old ladies this side of the carriage, but he happens to be a metre closer and he is laser focused on jostling his way to the seat. There is nothing more unattractive, ugly and disgraceful than a young able-bodied man deciding that his seat is more important than anybody else's. In fact, it's just gross, which I think is the word I used. It gives me the ick, as young people would say. Right, but I'm glad, actually, that there is a little bit of etiquette and common courtesy out there, and I'm glad that you were on the receiving end, Stephen. Well deserved. Let us talk about this story. Scotland Yard's counter-terror chief has revealed that there have been 19 late-stage UK attack plots in the last 5 years. So what do we mean by late stage? We're talking about 19 terror plots foiled essentially at the 11th hour, where if our security services and our police were not at the top of their game, would have probably resulted in a mass casualty atrocity. And he also revealed that they are monitoring more than 1,000 dangerous extremists. Stephen, I've got a question for you, because when I read this, the first thing that came into my head is, if they're there watching 1,000 people sitting there in their little cells, wargaming on how they're going to kill so many people, how they're going to get the ammo, what nails they're going to get from whatever, your DIY shop to shove inside a ruck, whatever, I don't know. I've never been part of planning a mass casualty event. My question is, why can't we just nick them and put them in prison? Why do we just sort of spend all this time watching them until the last moment? I don't understand how this works. And legally, when you come across these people, is it just that it's more sensible to watch them so you can sort of get immersed within the entire outfit? Or are there legal restrictions on actually being able to lift someone, for want of better vernacular, when do you need more intelligence on them? I don't know.
So, I mean, the first thing to point out about this story is that it is not the colossal win that the authorities think it is, because it is absolutely terrifying that we should be in this position as a country. We are obviously not safe. What they're effectively telling us is that at some point they're going to slip through and one of these things is going to happen. Frankly, Alex, I don't like the term mass casualty event. That sounds like we're trying to Barbie or, My Little Pony up a real atrocity. This is a grotesque thing. Secondly, we do have innocent until proven guilty. And in terms of preparing things, there's the degree of preparedness that you have to go. That's if you criminally prosecute. But Alex, there's a get out of jail free card here. Just deport people. Because are we really saying that these people are all domestic? I don't believe you. I don't, and I'm terribly sorry, the authorities, but you have very largely lost the trust of the British people because you lie and call us racist. By the way, authorities, we're completely diverse, so we're not racist. We just want to be safe, and being safe is a normal human feeling and a normal human desire for all of us. And we don't feel safe because you're not deporting people, you're not taking steps to make this country safe. I will always defend innocent until proven guilty and the rule of law. We don't want to move into some sort of tyrannical place where we just, throw people in jail without trials or anything else. I mean, I'm a believer in justice. I'm not David Lammy, but the end result is that we have imported a lot of this stuff. And even if and they'll probably, because I'm saying this, they'll run desperately hard to try and find one that's homegrown. And it's like, that doesn't disprove my point. If we just get rid of all the ones we've imported and then deal with the domestic ones ourselves, we're still in a better position. And I do think it's about time that we as a country had a border again.
Absolutely. I mean, what we've learned is we don't just deport. Don't just not deport terrorists, we actually import them. And we import them through a manner of means. Obviously, we have the illegal routes. Without doubt, that is being used by terrorist organisations. In fact, I think terrorist organisations these days are making their moolah from the international trade in human cargo, because that far outweighs the amount of capital you can get over drugs. Once upon a time, it's opium, and now it's, let's just go to sub-Saharan Africa, cause a coup, and ship everyone out. But also, when it comes to some of these people in hotels, I remember one specific story of a man who had been in prison in Egypt, and not our latest character, by the way, who had been released from prison and found himself in a hotel in Ealing, and next thing, we're clearly not eyes on with this guy because he was raping somebody in the middle of Hyde Park. Then, of course, we had the latest example of the man who was in an Egyptian prison cell who had some pretty choice attitudes and things to say on social media, who we actively campaigned to bring over here. And now we've learned about ISIS brides, roll out the red carpet, they must come to Britain. I mean, what are we? What is going on?
Well, it does feel as though our government hates us, let's be absolutely honest. And if you've been a lifelong supporter of the Labour Party, you probably must feel the most betrayed. Because what on earth has the Labour Party become when all it cares about is importing foreigners and giving them our money? That's it. That's its main goal in life. The Prime Minister literally called it his priority. And they don't care how dangerous these people are. They don't care what they do. They just want to import them and give them our money. And this is a national scandal. This government cannot fall fast enough, Alex, and I would like to see the Labour Party heal and repair itself. If it can, I've got left-wing friends. I'm not inherently opposed, and contrary ideas are very useful. That you shouldn't live in an echo chamber. I want to be challenged. I want to have my thoughts and views challenged, and that's one of the functions that contra-political views do. But these are brainwashed individuals who simply want to import. Just on the simple basis that they weren't born here. They are made saintly and virtuous and deserving of our cash. But this is insane. And our deportation strategy is pathetically weak, Alex. We offer to pay them money, and some of them take the money and come back and do it again. Some of them take the money and then ask for more money, and we give them more treatments and all sorts of support in their country that they're in. But the vast majority simply just ignore us. And the Home Office goes up to them, might send them a letter at their last known address saying, please, 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 will you deport yourself? Please. I mean, this is just pathetic, Alex. This is where we have got to. Because there is an ideological belief that rules are inherently bad, and they're not, Alex. Rules keep you safe. Rules are a border, they're a boundary, they're a front door, and we have to get some rules back.
Do you know what I don't get? I think people are, I don't know what's happened. They're either willfully stupid, or something very funny's been put in our water. Because this Saturday, for example, there's going to be yet another pro-Palestine protest. That war's not even going on anymore. The last hostage is removed from Gaza. That's done. It's over. We all know that the people funding the terrorism is Iran, who are committing the most vile, genocidal mass slaughter of its own citizens. It makes other countries that have come under the purview of the UN et al. Look like blimmin' Mother Teresa's sort of Médecins Sans Frontières corps. It is disgusting, it is frightening, it is horrific what is happening in Iran, the biggest state sponsors of terrorism. Anyway, we have this pro-Palestine march, and because we can't bang on about the war in Gaza because it doesn't exist anymore, instead, and I've read it on their website, they said, well, the war might be sort of over, but now it's all about not giving money or weapons to Israel. And I'm like, first of all, we just sell them the odd sort of button cover or something, a widget.
Yeah, we're not a military power. We don't have anything they want.
So that is absolute BS, first of all. That is not happening. But also, Israel, thankfully, have blown off the sort of nether regions of most of Hezbollah. They are probably the only force in the region who can make Tehran stay in some semblance of a box. And so at this point, with yet another, such a big protest that police are being deployed from Devon and Cornwall, that's what I heard today. And it's so thinly veiled now. This isn't even remotely about wars or genocides or kids and schools and hospitals and la 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 la. This is simply Islamist propaganda on our streets. It's a terror cell with tambourines. Why are they still taking place?
Yeah, don't forget the communist element either. The two of them are clearly hand in hand, and we've seen for years paid for protests with the mass-produced placards. We know exactly what these people are. The simple fact is that the Met Commissioner is either on their side or too weak to stop them. Sadiq Khan is either on their side or too weak to stop them. And they leave you in this paradox where you have to pick one of those two options, Alex. I always advise Kev never to pick one. I don't need to know whether the Prime Minister is an idiot or sinister. He's one or the other, and the outcome is bad either way. And that's what's going on with these marches. For your listeners and viewers, and I think out of respect to the dead, we ought to just highlight Iran. I mean, the estimates are absolutely shocking. 35 to 45,000 civilians, children, babies, women of all ages, innocent people going about their work.
Within days.
Shot by the regime.
It makes the Srebrenica massacre look like child's play. It is one of the worst death tolls over a condensed period of time, and the weapons that they're using against largely young people going out simply wanting basic liberties. That, if people are running up and down the streets waving placards and shouting about that, I would actually probably join them, because that is definitely being on the right side of history if you're saying about the Ayatollah and that evil regime in Tehran that it must be stopped. And yet, nothing. Instead, these protests that are taking place are largely in part corralled, coordinated, coerced by that same country, that same regime.
Yeah. It's absolutely shocking, and paid for, Alex, as well. Let's have that element in. And our police forces have been, all of them, successively. I mean, the Chief Constable of Greater Manchester gets a good shout out for being decent, but on Stephen's big list of chief constables who need sacking, it just goes on for page after page. Alex, they have been largely captured, largely through the College of Policing. They've been indoctrinated into thinking this way politically and supporting all of this nonsense, and it simply has to stop. We are going to have to fix our country, and it's going to mean tearing down a lot of things, Alex, because this cannot go on.
Just a little aside here. I don't know whether, like me, you've kind of wormholed on what's been going on in Minnesota. We're not talking about it hugely in the United Kingdom, but 2 deaths of activists, and that is always a tragedy, without doubt, and some of the footage looks ghoulish. I'm not going to pretend that is not the case. And the debate is centred around that, perhaps to some degree rightly so. But what I've been reading is that these protests, in inverted commas, taking place in Minneapolis, Minnesota, are being coordinated with a level of military planning in signal groups with designated code names and roles and shift patterns and OPSEC hygiene, with potential collusion with certain members of law enforcement, with arms, military-grade weapons, with potential cars used as ramming vehicles. And I wonder whether Trump halting the operations of ICE in Minnesota is in part, I think, to look into those killings, which I think is necessary. But I wonder if this is also because this isn't protests. This isn't activism. It's not even just paid protests. That potentially what we're seeing in the United States, and when the United States sneezes, we all catch that cold, is something now that's beginning to look a lot more like an insurgency.
It does look like an insurgency, Alex, and that's an awful thing to be going on in the continental United States. And you are quite right to highlight it could happen here. And if this government is not long for this world, and it will presumably be replaced, hopefully, by a government that actually wants to fix the country. When it starts, or when a government starts trying to fix the country, these people are going to scream, and they're going to behave in this way. I think we do have to talk about the abuse of people. I don't know if you remember the film Four Lions, which had a very telling point that these people who were convinced to be martyrs for in that case, extreme Islam, but extreme communism is exactly the same problem. They were actually quite innocent. They were actually quite mentally ill. They were taken advantage of. They were pushed into this position and told, all sorts of promises and all sorts of good things. And I do think that the people on the left in here are encouraging people to challenge the ICE officers and to put themselves in way because every martyrdom helps them.
Yes.
You know, I do think it's okay to talk about that. It's not, that doesn't make anybody's death any less tragic or any less sad. That doesn't mean I'm calling for anybody, you know, to die. It's just, there are bad people who are manipulating people into putting themselves in danger. And that's what insurgencies do, because an insurgency like this and something like extreme Islamists or communists, the ends justify the means. You know, they're so pure in their ideological thought that actually getting anything in its way to achieve and to succeed is a benefit.
Oh,
so
they want. Look, let's be honest. You know, I believe that there's probably, if someone followed the money, looked at who's providing the training, because my understanding is a level of sophistication of this activism in Minnesota involves actual military-style training manuals. Who's doing that? Who's funding it? I have no doubt that there will be the long arm of some sort of hostile regime or more. But we saw this, didn't we, in Gaza? The body count is actually important to their cause. They delight in seeing these activists shot by law enforcement because it justifies their ability to call it fascism, which again turns the volume up. It increases the dial to DEFCON 5. And actually, you know, that is what they want. They want to destabilise society. They want to break it from the inside. And yet, it will come here. Like you said, my great fear is if we have a change of government who want to start enforcing deportations in this country, what we're seeing happening now on the streets of Minnesota, which isn't people chucking some baked beans at a Van Gogh and gluing themselves to a blooming motorway sign. No, this is an armed, like you said, insurgency. It will come here.
It will. And this is all part of rule collapse, Alex. You know, we have had deportations where the people on the plane simply stand up and act out until the person is taken off. That's the same. It's lesser, but it's the same thing. Okay, it's exactly the same thing. The Prime Minister, and I think the Home Secretary, although my apologies to her if I'm getting this wrong, signed letters to keep deportation people not being deported, despite the fact that's what the law said and they'd committed horrendous crimes. That's the same thing. It's lesser, but it's the same thing. What they're all about, all these people want, is to not have the clear and equal application of laws. They want to be above law themselves. That's what they want to be, because that's how they prove to themselves that they're superior to the rest of us, and they don't want laws to apply to them. It's already here, because every time you hear the word two-tier, it's already here. Yeah. But what are we facing? How bad is this going to get? And which elements of the state are we going to be able to trust if this kicks off?
Exactly. No, well, we've got so much more to talk about. Don't go anywhere, Stephen, because we're going to be catching up on more stories just after this.
Welcome to Down the Local, the show that goes from pub to pub across the country, speaking to the punters about the subjects driving us all nuts at the moment.
Rachel Reeves, Rachel Thieves, Rachel McCounts.
I don't really know Meghan Markle. I know Meghan Markle's from Suits, and that's about it.
I don't know about anyone else, and I don't know where this is going. I have 0% beers, and I feel
Raising the flag, I think, is symptomatic of its desperation.
Is public transport good value for money?
No, it isn't.
You really don't like speaking to people.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello and welcome back, and let's bring back in the brilliant Stephen Barrett, my favourite lawyer of all time. Hi, Stephen. I just want to say thank you so much for engaging in the insurgency chat, because I don't think anybody right now, I don't think a single British journalist is touching this story. And my prediction is that this is going to grow and grow. Eyes on what's going to happen in America. I wonder if they will look to prescribe Antifa. I wonder if they're going to try and go after Signal. Very difficult when it comes to the sort of defence of big tech and free speech. But I do think that this is going to go on and on. So you've heard it here first, people. Stephen Barrett and Alex Phillips lifting the lid on Minnesota. We're going to bring it back to the United Kingdom, though, because here we go again. You know, there was something in the newspaper today, and it was a woman who had been attacked. I can't remember where she was or what age she was. I can't remember the part of the country. But the police had been calling for eyewitnesses because she'd been sexually attacked. And they didn't say it was a white British male with ginger hair, age 30. So you just go, oh, OK. Right, when there's no description, you know. And this has now become such a pattern. We all wait for it, don't we? As soon as it's like, well, this guy's thrown acid all over someone, everyone's got to look out for him. He might have a little bit of acid on his face. OK, great, but what does he look like? Well, he might have some acid on his face, but we don't know. OK, but who is he? What does he look like? It becomes especially, to me, egregious when time after time it's sex attack after sex attack, and these men are forming a very distinct trend because they are all from particular cultures and increasingly are so-called asylum seekers. This is based on a story of Lee Anderson, the Reform MP, who said that it was an asylum seeker rapist that had carried out an attack on a vulnerable teenage girl. He and a friend pounced on her in a park in his constituency of Ashfield. And both of them essentially raped this poor girl. And the judge decided that this needs to be covered up, that the public mustn't know about his asylum status. The press were gagged from reporting it until the end of his trial. Now, first of all, he was from Pakistan. So you're not an asylum seeker if you're from Pakistan. But why? How and why are they getting away with withholding this information from the public? Is it actually in the interests of a fair trial that there might be a risk of, if it's a trial by jury, of the jury being prejudiced if they think, oh, well, it's one of those people from Asylum Hotel? Is it because they don't want to stick the, put the stick deeper into the hornet's nest when it comes to public's tolerance of these sorts of news stories? And what legal basis do they have to covering this up again and again and again and again and again? It started with Southport, and it's now devolved into a pattern where if a perpetrator, particularly of a sexual offence, happens to not be white British, and in particular happens to be a so-called asylum seeker, aka sex tourist migrant, we must not know this information at any cost.
Yes, and the general view by the establishment is that we cannot be trusted. It's not a bug. It's a feature, Alex, of the system. The system treats us as meat units. It's not a surprise that the Houses of Parliament are discussing an act of Parliament to give them the lawful right to kill us. Okay, it's not accidental. It's all part of a governing philosophy whereby we don't matter. Only the state matters and large corporations matter. And they think that there will be serious disorder or disturbance because we're so childish we can't be trusted with any knowledge. And so they lie to us. It's a classic technique. There's nothing new under the sun, Alex, but this is particularly not new. It's what every autocratic and repressive regime does. It tends to completely fall apart without a secret police or a Stasi to enforce it. Now, I'm not trying to encourage a secret police or a Stasi, but they haven't, just note, Alex, they haven't got one. Now they're trying
to be honest, on that matter, they increasingly seem to be wanting to use us in that role, which also seems to be the sort of modus operandi of various fascistic regimes. It started in COVID. Dob on your neighbour. Have you seen somebody doing something? Report it to us. Here's a hotline. They have some sort of human rights violation hotline in a mushroom farm in Scotland, for crying out loud. They seem to increasingly want us to snitch.
Churchill highlighted all this the last time the authoritarians and the totalitarians were here. They're the same people with the same ideas. They're not very clever. And every time he highlighted that in their societies, children will tattletale on parents, shopkeepers will tattletale on a rival, women who don't like each other or fall out will tattletale on each other, everybody reporting everybody else to the police. And this is where facial surveillance comes from. This is where the increase in cameras comes from. They want us to feel constantly monitored. This is why if you go to a British railway station or travel on a British train, you will be constantly told to say it sorted. It's not there to solve anything. See it, say it sorted doesn't fix anything. It's to keep you scared. It's a very simple idea, is that humans, when they are scared, are much easier to control. When we talk about the protesters, and yes, they are bussed in, and yes, they are controlled, but I worry that a lot of them have just a disproportionate fear. They themselves are suffering terrible anxiety episodes, and then these people tell them this, life will be better if you do this, and so they believe them. But this is just a bad human system of government, and it's going to get worse. It won't work, Alex. It's real tragedy. Is that this is what we call a weak dictatorship. It's what happened after the French Revolution. It's what happened immediately after the Russian Revolution. It happens from time to time in human societies. Starmer is not a strongman dictator, so it's going to fall. And what I call for instead, and what I would rather have, is to go back to capitalism and democracy. Yeah. Because we're not a capitalist state, because law is used to destroy capitalism.
Oh, no, we're a welfare state with a few people like you and I actually paying tax attached to the side of it.
Yeah, and regulations and laws are used to protect large businesses from competition. That's the cunning move. That's why you got the head of an insurance company prattling on about trans nonsense. Not because she believes in trans nonsense, but because she needs to signal to her political masters to protect the corporation. And by the way, insurance is one of the most over-regulated sectors we actually have. Seriously over-regulated, unbelievable, even for financial services. It's like a special category of financial services institution that is massively overregulated. It's why you won't see competition there. This is what's happening. The net result is that we're treated really badly, like unimportant meat units, and basically oppressed by the state. It's not going to go anywhere good. There's no way out of this that is good. So I just quietly suggest to us all that we need to fix everything. Yeah. We really do. And one of the great problems I have is that people who just refuse to believe that this is a problem. It's so those two or three sort of vaguely well-known people who sent ridiculous tweets about how London's never been better than
I know, ever. The gaslighting, it's so deranged.
It's absolutely mental, Alex. I got off at Warren Street and I walked towards a pub at Great Portland Street past a tent city. There is on the Marylebone Road a massive encampment of tents.
But think of all the delicious exotic cuisine they're cooking in cauldrons under that canvas, Stephen. That's what makes us so rich with multiculturalism.
On the way to another television station, I passed people cooking over a live fire in a London back street.
Oh God, were they someone's pets by any chance?
It's just ridiculous. This is just ridiculous. This is not going to get better on its own. We're not going to be able to pretend our way out of it, no matter how much they say that we're going to have to do it. Therefore, we have to grow up and take active control of our state and actively fix things. And it is a process. I get asked, as you probably see it. People endlessly ask me, Stephen, how can the law protect us? Stephen, the courts must be able to do something. Stephen, how can they save us? And actually, Alex, I have to be uncharacteristically unkind to those people, because I have to tell them to grow up, and that the only people who will save you are you.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yes.
You know, we didn't get this country because some lawyer wanted to be nice.
Yes.
That is not how it works.
No, this is it. No, the law is essentially more than just an arse. It's becoming a prison. Stephen, I've got to end it there. You have spoken so much sense. I could talk to you all day. It's been a real honour and a privilege having you on. The brilliant Stephen Barrett, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, listen, someone's just said, evening, Alex. Stephen Barrett is talking lots of sense. Once again, he always does. Reform needs guys like him to reform the judicial system once and for all. Indeed, if you want to share your thoughts on anything we're talking about, 03444 99 1000. That's on WhatsApp. 8722 is the number if you want to send me a text message. You've got to write the word talk before you write the content of your message if you want to give me a call. Have your name and number registered by the brilliant Matt. I won't tell you what his nickname is just yet. We'll have to wait until after 9 o'clock. Then the number is 03444 99 1000. He will make sure that you are suitably vetted, and when the time cometh, he will patch you through to the studio. Right, we are going to take a short break now, but have I got a treat for you after the break? Not only is he beguilingly handsome, not only is he a reformed former BBC Special Investigations correspondent, he is also become a champion of sensible anti-woke broadcasting in the independent sphere. He's a brilliant friend of mine. I love him till the cows come home. I also rather like his wife, as it happens. Not like that. Come on, it's not that time of night yet. It's Andrew Gold, who is the presenter of Heretics, if you have not seen his show on the Tube, YouTube that is. What are you waiting for? He interviews the best people and he does it with such brilliant aplomb. He is coming up just after this, so don't you go anywhere.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello and welcome back to the show. Now, I really did build him up, didn't I, before the break, so I hope you're not disappointed. You won't be. It's Andrew Gold! Good evening, Andrew, my darling. How are you?
Can you introduce me with some more enthusiasm, please?
I don't know what to say other than, did you also go to the same funeral as me earlier?
Bloody hell, Alex. Why? Was there a funeral?
Yeah, no, I was actually at a funeral today, hence that's my excuse for dressing all in black. But I've never seen you in any other colour, if I'm honest with you.
You will have done, because we've spent a lot of time together.
We have. We're in the sort of, you know, in the Middle East, in blazing hot sunshine together. And I'm trying to remember whether you even wore a pair of shorts. Yeah, you did wear shorts. Those legs were memorable.
Hairy, spindly legs.
They were extremely spindly. I do think that you need to be fed a good sort of, you know, cheeseburger or two on a more regular basis.
Oh, God, here we go.
Anyway, other than your diet, which is clearly lacking, your podcast isn't. It is full of high-fat, brilliant, tasty, delectable content. And also, you have this knack of getting ahead of a story before it even breaks because, well, you're just brilliant, aren't you? And I think that actually, let's just watch a clip. Let's watch, in advance time capsule, Andrew Gold interviewing Suella Braverman.
Nigel came out of that door now and said, Suella, come on, it's time. What would you say?
Listen, it's a tough time for the Conservative Party. That's undeniable. You only have to look at any poll to show that the Conservative Party is struggling because of this breach of trust. You know, I did warn about it. I warned about it for years around the cabinet table in private. And then the Prime Minister got fed up of those warnings, so he kicked me out of the cabinet. And then I warned about it publicly, and people didn't really want to hear it. And then we've had the disaster.
Are you not friends with them anymore?
I've lots of friends in the Conservative Party. Yeah, listen, we fought elections together. We worked side by side.
Could you go for dinner with like Rishi or Liz?
I don't think I'd go for dinner with Rishi, no. I don't think he'd want to go for dinner with me, no.
Liz, Boris?
I'm still in touch with a lot of them. Yeah, exactly. You know, you've got I think you also got to like be mature about these things as well.
I mean, the brilliant thing there, Andrew, is at no point does she actually say, no, I wouldn't go and join Reform. When that story broke, it was almost the worst kept secret in Westminster.
Well, you know, I don't know if you got to the end of that episode, but you know, I asked who your favourite heretic is, and after having almost denied it, because she was a bit sort of coy there, wasn't she? She immediately went, Nigel Farage. And I said, well, that's, you know, because we'd been employing a kind of football metaphor where I said, look, you know, I watch football. I've been watching Tottenham for many years, and for many years, Harry Kane was always asked, "Will you leave Tottenham for Bayern Munich?" Or not for Bayern Munich specifically, but will you leave Tottenham? And it was always, "Oh no, I'm very happy here. I'm very happy here." And then he was gone. And I said, "Is that going to be you?" And she was just like, "Well, I don't want to say that I'm, you know, Harry Kane's one of the best footballers we've had." And so she was just skirting around it, really. And I said to her at the end, "Well, look, if Harry Kane, when he was maybe going to leave, had been asked, okay, but who's your favourite club?" and he had said Bayern Munich, then I think we'd have known, oh gosh, he's leaving. And she said Nigel Farage. So I think we did know at the time.
I think when her husband joined the party about a year ago and started becoming a factory of pro-reform tweets, it was a bit like, well, that's odd, isn't it? Like, you know,
well, it would have been
Braverman's there. Suella, where are you, love?
Awkward not for her not to do so. And look, you know, I speak to him as well, and he's great, and I love her. I mean, you when you're in our business, as you know, you meet a lot of politicians, and a lot of them are very disappointing.
Yeah.
And they're just sort of quite robotic and boring people, and they're not like real people. And I know people say that, and I don't want to just say the thing that everyone says, which is they're not like real people, they're like robots, but I promise you they really are. Right. But Suella is one of the few who, I've said this before, she might be insulted by this because we're probably closer in age, so it's not possible, but she could be my auntie. That's how I feel about Suella. She's a proper person. She's fun and interesting. She's a real human being. So I'm happy for her, and I'm happy for Reform.
Did you see on X, by the way, I don't know if you caught this, there was a post put up by David Frost, and it's him and Suella having these, like, turquoise-coloured ice cream. Lord knows why they bought that, because it's probably, like, Hubba Bubba flavoured or something. And it says, like, oh, yeah, Suella and I have very similar tastes in things, with these sort of, like, you know, basically it was the Pantone of Reform UK in ice cream format on a cone. And I'm like, is that the next defection then? I mean, are we now not even bothering to play the waiting game? People are just putting, it's like that Osborne, those games, you know, do you have those books growing up where it's sort of like the intergalactic bus or something, and you answer a riddle and turn to page 12 and you go down a maze or something? It's like basically Clues for Kids.
It is that. Look, I mean, I wonder, and maybe I'll ask her husband, but I wonder if she got sort of beaten to the pip, or whatever the expression is, with the latest couple of movements with Genric and all of that stuff. Would she have wanted to be first? Was her, you know, I can imagine wanting to announce that, being really excited about it, and then seeing one or two others have just done it, and you go, oh, bloody hell, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting, that one, actually. Old soft hands Rob, as I like to call him. I don't know if you've met Jenrick. But he came in here once and I interviewed him. He was actually really personable and really nice. Do you know, it's strange. The way you just described politicians is the exact conversation I had. It might have been with my parents. And I was just saying, you know, most politicians, when they come in here and you interview them, they're just not humans. They're these weird sort of spin-programmed automatons who sort of think they're very busy and haven't aged, and they walk in and sit there and then come out of a load of sort of pre-scripted circumlocution written by the headquarters. But every now and then you meet one, it's like, all right, and you're like, oh my God, it's an actual human I could go to the pub with. Anyway. Yeah. I kind of got the impression when I did interviews during the leadership campaign, when I met Robert Jenrick, that he was a bit like that, actually. Ozempic Rob. I kind of like the sort of, you know, you've got to have a glow up if you're going to join the real right. But the one thing that stuck in my head was I shook his hand and I'm like, what is this? It's like chamois leather skin. So I just, it's honestly, you've got to get him on your show just to touch his palms.
That's interesting. That's a very Alex Phillips thing to notice, I would say, and not necessarily some. Because I mean, people want to get an insight into the real Alex Phillips, I suppose, don't they? That's what this is really all about. And having spent a lot of time with you, morning, day, and night, you know, traveling around places and things like that, you're very astute, and you notice things about people. And there was something you said about me. I can't remember what it was. Something about that I was it because I was singing or something?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, everyone knows that you've got weird little Tyrannosaurus arms.
Yeah, little hands.
Yeah, funny little sort of thing, little hands. But you also sort of like, you tuck your elbows back when you gesticulate. It's sort of, you know, you look like one of those sort of games that people do in charades, where someone's got their hands behind their back and someone else's arms is there in their place.
Or sort of Peter Crouch kind of thing, a kind of robot-y vibe.
Yeah, except he's kind of more elongated. You're a bit like wrong aspect ratio, Peter Crouch, because you're tall and thin, but your arms are sort of little and funny.
I thought you were going to say, yeah, but he's actually talented, Andrew.
Is he? Oh, you know, I don't watch football. That's a thug's game. I'm a posh girl.
Footballer.
I'm a Gloucester girl.
Yeah, Peter Crouch.
Right, we're going to take a short break now, because otherwise who knows what conversation we're going to have if we just carry on like this. When we come back, I'm going to quiz you about this weird showdown you had with the most leftist man in the world, Paul Mason, on the most leftist radio station on earth, LBC, because some odd things happened in that. We're not allowed to play their clips, of course, because rival channel and all of that. So I'm going to get you, with your tiny little Tyrannosaurus arms, to reenact the whole thing. That's coming up after this. Get yourself ready.
Welcome to Down the Local, the show that goes from pub to pub across the country, speaking to the punters about the subjects driving us all nuts at the moment.
That's Rachel Reeves, Rachel Thieves, Rachel McCounts.
I don't really know Meghan Markle. I know Meghan Markle's from Suits, and that's about it.
I don't know about anyone else, and I don't know where this is going. I have 0% beers, and I feel
Raising the flag, I think, is symptomatic of this desperation.
Is public transport good value for money?
No, it isn't.
You really don't like speaking to people.
Across the UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk.
Do you know, honestly, if there was some sort of feature where you had to pay a really high premium to listen to the conversations I have with the gallery during advert breaks, I mean, you couldn't do it on air because Ofcom just wouldn't allow it. But the stuff that we say, we're just comparing notes on sort of really politically incorrect terms from different parts of the country. I mean, it's great that, you know, you can just drive 10 miles in one direction and you come up with some brand new horrible slang that another part of the country doesn't have. I'd actually quite like to compile a manual of the most offensive regional words. In fact, why don't you text them to me and I can have all the fun talking about them during the advert break with the gallery and not read them out on air because I want to keep my job. Anyway. Oh, you could do that, though, in the independent sphere. Or can you do that on YouTube? Can you get away with stuff like that? Or do they sort of demonetise you and shadow ban you?
It's got better than it was, but you shouldn't really include the C word. They never tell you what it was that did it, you know, so you just find out, oh, that's been demonetized, we've just spent a fortune on putting that video together and now we can't actually make any revenue from it, so we've made a huge loss, and they won't tell us what it was. So that's YouTube for you. So people are over careful because you never know what's going to trigger it.
Ooh, who's demonetized you the most? Which guest?
Well, I mean, even like David Baddiel got me demonetized because he uses that C word a lot. That was when I first realized that. And then it tends to be more about the theme, I think. Often ones who talk about, you know, those who have been victims of what we have to call SA on YouTube, which is sexual abuse. But again, YouTube would say, oh, that's fine to say if you ask them. But you don't know if it is. Other
than me, obviously, who's been your absolute most favourite guest?
I would say, well, even if I said other than you, it still has to be you. 'Cause it's such a distance. But otherwise, I don't know. I love Robbie Williams, and having Robbie Williams come on was just so exciting, and I was so happy, and I got to do it in this beautiful palace in Budapest where he happened to be, and we put it together, and it looked beautiful and sounded great, and that was such a thrill to be able to do.
Who's been the most disappointing? Have you had someone that you've interviewed and you've just gone, blimey, I can't even cut 2 minutes out of that. That's just boring.
Yeah, we've had one or two, but then not put them out, or just put them out on the sort of audio version. So that has happened, but I couldn't possibly say who. And in fact, I can't even remember that person's name. So
memorable was the interview. Now, talking about memorable interviews. You've had this weird spat with Paul Mason, who was extremely left-wing, on LBC. Do you know, actually, a little segue. I was reading something the other day. Someone had done like a quote tweet. Do we still call them tweets these days? I get so confused. I still call it Twitter, if I'm honest. And it was sort of talking about, hate speech on GB News, rah, 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 and it was some sort of LBC presenter had done it, and someone had been like, from the station of James O'Brien. And it is such a ridiculous system where you can actually call someone a sort of, you know, Holocaust-loving, fascist Nazi. Oh, yeah, totally normal vernacular. Even the Prime Minister uses it. And yet, if you happen to sort of not have the most up-to-date manual on right speak about someone's ethnicity, bam, you should be thrown in prison. But when it comes to a sort of a petri dish of leftism, Paul Mason on LBC pretty much sums it up. That's a little bit like Farage on Talk, on the opposite side of the spectrum. So what on earth went on in that interview?
The petri dish. I love the way you speak. No one speaks like you on the news. There's just no one as good at that. What went on? I've been finding more and more, the bigger Heretics has gotten, the more opportunities I've had to speak with people on the other side or in the mainstream, because when you're starting out, no one will go near you because you're not a big enough name, no one wants you on, and you're controversial. Whereas if you're controversial but you have a big following, people will talk to you. That's why Ricky Gervais can say what he wants and still get on the mainstream programs. Jimmy Carr is able to do so as well. But if you're sort of middle ground, so the point being, as it's got bigger, I've had more of these opportunities, and just as I've been disappointed by politicians, I didn't want to believe the obvious thing that they're just so dull, most of them, but leftists have also severely disappointed me, because again, I like to believe that, okay, I hold these beliefs and I'm not with them on but we can all have a good conversation and so on, and that has turned out not to be the case. Time and time again, I've had conversations with someone like Paul Mason. It's been Owen Jones previously, and I've thought, okay, maybe they'll come in and actually have some nuance, some attempt to actually understand what the other side has to say, and they absolutely don't. And so Paul Mason last night, I was excited to have this conversation on LBC, and Ian Dale, as far as LBC is quite lefty and whatever, he's sort of relatively, looks at both sides a little bit. And
yeah, I don't think we can call him right wing at this stage.
No, but he's not Paul Mason. And he's somewhere. He's reasonable, and he even said to Paul a couple of times, like, "Hang on, mate, no, this is ridiculous." And yeah, so he went in immediately, just within seconds of speaking, because we were talking about reform, and Suella was just branding everybody racist, and it was just like, are you an 18-year-old American university student or something with blue hair? I thought, how has this man, who should have some complexity, has written books about things, must have some ideas up there in his head, how has he gotten to a point in his life where he's lived for decades and decades and still is talking in such simplistic, one-sided, binary terms? So I was amazed by that. Everyone's a racist, and then just yammering on about how wonderful it is that this country has got black people and Nigerian people and Muslims in charge of and I just couldn't wait to talk. And when it got to me, I was just like, I don't even know where to start here. Do we start with, you've just called half the country racist? Well, that's what I did. I went in with that. Look, you've just said you don't want any division in this country and we need to be more tolerant. And you've called half the country, which is who wants to vote for reform, a bunch of racists. And anyone who's defected to reform, who they want to vote for, racists immediately. Meanwhile, you're the one sitting there judging everyone by their skin colour, because all I've heard you say is black this, Muslim that. The rest of us are not doing that. And particularly reform. I know reform take a lot of flack from the hard right, or the right edges of this. And I can understand their concerns. I understand that a lot of us are concerned about Islam in particular, and a lot of people don't necessarily want people who are of the Muslim faith being in charge of whatever. At the same time, we have to recognize the situation that we're in right now, which is that there are millions and millions and millions of Muslims in this country right now. And so if there is an opportunity to have somebody like Layla Cunningham, say, who to me speaks wonderfully, despite a past where she might have been a little bit more on the kind of woke, on Islamo-woke side, it seems right now that she, I think Reform are actually making a good decision, as much as I'll be criticised by the right for saying that. So what he failed to even mention, Paul Mason, was how multicultural, maybe inadvertently, Reform actually is. Anyway, I came back at him and just said these things very calmly, as is my way of speaking, I think, expecting for a grown man like him to engage in serious debate and go, oh, well, listen, I take your point. However, what I would say is that, and I thought, okay, we'll have a conversation like that. He just kept coming back and going, well, who are you? Who are you? Just a podcaster, are you? And it was just the most blatant ever attempt.
Some of them do this. I get this a lot. I had this the other day from, I don't even know whether I should say his name because it will, activate him again. But a particular man who seems to spend all of his life on X. He once was a sort of relatively respected newspaper columnist. Now, of course, now he's gone very left-wing, seems to be making things the BBC. But he keeps coming over going, journalist? You're not a journalist. And I'm like, hold on. I went to the best journalism school in the country. I got my diploma in broadcast journalism from the best professors in the country. I've worked as a journalist for a newspaper in India, a TV station in Ghana, a magazine in China, for the BBC, for ITV. I was part of the BBC Special Training College. I helped set up GB News Presented there. Now I'm sitting talking about news inside a building that actually has the word news written on the outside of it. So what does that make me? A window cleaner? I mean, it's just ridiculous.
If you happen to clean windows in your spare time, then fine. But you are primarily, as far as I know, a journalist and only a secondary window cleaner. I thought the same thing. And afterwards, you're on the tube on the way home and you're thinking, gosh, that really rankles.
It's called the spirit of the elevator. I've got to let you go, Andrew, because we've only got about 5 seconds. It's been amazing. We're obviously going to continue this on WhatsApp, but the rest of the public can't join in. But they can stay tuned for 2 more hours.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello and welcome back. Wasn't he brilliant? You can see why I love spending so much time with Mr. Andrew Gold. In fact, I don't spend so much time with him. I'd like to spend more time with him. In fact, we've done this unfortunate thing where he lived in the West Country and has just moved back to London, and I lived in London. I've moved back to the West Country, so we're like, oh, halfway up the M4. But we are in some brilliant WhatsApp groups. My gosh, if the world could get into those groups. The things that we say. Oh, he's absolutely sensational. I love that man. And is so successful, can I just say. And really well deserved. He's done it all himself. He's built up his channel. It is really, really well worth watching. Heretics is the name of his programme on YouTube. And if you haven't come across it, where have you been? He gets some really good guests and he tackles some really brilliant subjects. I mean, obviously he's not as good as here, is he? We're Talk. This is like, you know, Murdoch's empire. But he's very good. Anyway, we're going to continue the conversation of, well, reform and all the Tories who have gone to reform. Is it a bad thing? Is it a good thing? Is it Conservatives 2.0? I mean, some might say they didn't like Conservatives 1.0, so actually what's wrong with creating Conservatives 2.0? I often find these conversations in politics just pointless. It's like, well, I don't know, do people want to vote for it? Yes, clearly. Look at the polling. They do. Who cares then? But clearly, if that was the attitude of every journalist in the world, we'd have nothing to talk about, would we? Shall we have a little look at what Suella Braverman has said about the Conservative Party? Because they came out swinging, saying, making accusations about her mental health. They're saying, oh, we're glad all these people have gone. It's doing our spring cleaning for us. There was some particular MP who was sort of like, you could see they sat there and worked out this really cleverly worded post on social media about something to do with a football team and transfer windows. I don't know. It's some sort of, tenuous, stretched analogy. But they came out swinging, as they have done with every defection, making out like, oh, we don't care, this is brilliant, yeah, we love it when people leave the Conservative Party and go to reform. It's what we all wished for Christmas. In fact, wouldn't it be great if by the end of 2026 it was just Kemi Badenoch left? Yeah. Well, they don't pull the wool over my eyes. But Suella thought, well, I'm not going to take this lying down, am I? So this is what she had to say about her ex-party.
I have not had confidence in the Conservative Party, really, but I have tried to see whether it might change, tried to give it some time, and it's events over the last few days, really, which have tipped me over the line. The fact that it is a very toxic environment. There is now a concerted effort to expunge from the party anyone who wants robust borders, who wants a tough approach to law and order.
I mean, isn't that what we want? Robust borders, a tough approach to law and order. We are joined now by two brilliant councillors, opposite sides of the political spectrum, some might say. We're going to sort of set up our little metaphorical boxing ring. Here we go. Lads, get your bottles of water ready. Down the gullet, there we go. Do the spit over the side of the ropes. Here we go. Gloves up, because it's time for a head-to-head. On the left, we have Sebastian Salick, Labour councillor and commentator. On the right, we have Jamie McIver, Reform UK councillor. You guys, you're going to be battling it out in Gorton and Denton, so why not get a little rehearsal in here? And let's start off in this particular bout discussing whether reform is becoming the Conservative Party 2.0, and it would seem most sensible to go first to reform. So I put that to you, Jamie McIver.
Well, Alex, thank you for having me on, and absolutely not. There is no way. I think we all know the 270,000 and counting Reform UK members would never allow our party to become Tories 2.0. It will never happen. But what is happening is Conservative Party voters, a bit like Labour Party voters, they're abandoning what they thought was a Conservative Party. And they recognise that at the next general election, it is going to be between Nigel Farage and Keir Starmer, or whoever is the leader of the Labour Party at the next general election. And therefore, Conservative voters are choosing to vote reform. So it's only natural that members of the Conservative Party may wish to get behind the reform movement so we can make sure we get rid of this awful socialist government and to make sure we never have another socialist government again, because in just a few months they destroyed our country. We can't bear the thought of them being in power another day longer. So I think what you're seeing, Alex, is just the reality of what's happening with voters, which we see from the polling, is happening naturally among some Conservative Party members. And let's be real, there of course are members of the Conservative Party who are in Parliament as members of Parliament who have had robust discussion and debate about immigration. Robert Jenrick resigned from his position over it. Suella also did the same thing. There are members of Parliament who have been shouting about the issues that really the British people are concerned about. So I don't think there's any surprises with some of the people that have wished to join Reform. And as Nigel has said, if they add value to the party, they are welcome. It's his decision. And the recent defections, I think, have been positive for our party.
I mean, arguably, one could say that Reform's only existed about 2 political seconds. And so unless people have zero political experience, have never been engaged in politics and never voted before, understandably, they will have been somewhere else beforehand. And it's more likely that they will have been in the Conservatives than they would have done in the Labour Party. Sebastian, Jamie just said there, we've got to get rid of this socialist party. Do you consider Labour a socialist party?
I do think Labour is a socialist party. I also think it's a very pragmatic party, and that's what I like to see. I think, look, under Corbyn, we had a lot of big ideas, not all of them particularly workable, and so it was perfectly understandable that he didn't end up in government. And what we have now is a group of politicians who see that you have to start with where we are and fix real problems, but also you can dare to dream and you can be progressive and all the things that we love on the left. You have to balance the two, don't you? I mean, looking at Reform, though, sorry, Jamie, much as I love you, I think this is a mistake, because for so long you've been able to come on and say, we are untested, give us a go, roll the dice on Reform, but now you're importing people who are tarnished. We're looking at Jenrick, asylum hotels, peaks when he was immigration minister. Braverman sacked twice as Home Secretary. Nadine Zahawi also had to resign over his tax affairs. These are people with dirt on them already. And I think that is going to cause problems for you electorally.
Well, there you go, Jamie. Jamie, should Reform actually employ a bit of border control when it comes to their own organisation?
Well, I have made the point on several occasions that we are the only party that's actually proposing to control the country's borders, and therefore, if we don't control our own party's borders, we have a problem. And let me be very clear with you, we do control the borders of this party. Nigel Farage has made it very clear that people have approached him and he said, no, thank you, see you later. So there is absolutely no way people that don't add value to our party would be allowed into our party. We also see that in local government with our defections too. But the idea that we are untested is now not true. We control 12 councils. They're doing an exceptional job if you compare them to some of their like-for-like neighbours. I'm very proud of the work that Reform is doing in local government. A wholesale election result last May, and we now have another, hopefully, wholesale election this May, assuming that we actually are allowed to go and vote in our democratic country, which this Labour government seems to want to destroy. So I don't think that we're an untested party. But what we have got to do, and it is right, is that we get as many people with experience to join our movement that want to progress our movement, because, Alex, the state this country is in now is awful. The state it's going to be in whenever the general election is, I'm afraid, only going to be worse. We have no time to waste. And there are people joining our party who have been on the inside of the civil service, have seen the blob that we are going to face, and we can gather intelligence. So when Nigel Farage's secretaries of state and ministers enter Whitehall, they will know who they're going to be facing and what hurdles they will need to overcome.
I just thought of a really interesting game we could play, actually, because I don't know if you've noticed this. Every time there's been a defection, there's a little trend going on social media where someone's done a bit of digging and found a post where someone has spoken badly of somebody who is now defected. And the sort of hashtag is, there's always a tweet. And I just thought to myself, I could literally right now, to you, Jamie, rattle off a load of names of the Conservative Party and said, would you have this person? Would you have this person? Would you have this person? And you don't know which is going to be the unexploded landmine, do you? Well, no, definitely not. And then next week they could be in there. I'm not going to do that, though. What I will do, though, is ask you, Sebastian, about the King of the North. King of the North. Should he have been allowed to stand?
Do you know what? I think that the party got this one wrong. I think for Starmer, this would have been easier to let him stand. Because the advantage that Burnham has at the moment is that he is not, unlike those we've just been talking about, tarnished by Westminster. He is up there in Manchester doing a brilliant job by all accounts, but he doesn't have any political...
What's he done brilliantly in Manchester?
Well, you've got the B network, you've got the buses that are now in public ownership. People are very happy with him. He's been re-elected. By all accounts, doing a very good job. But he is not touched by what's going on in Westminster. I would let him come to Westminster. And the problem is, I think he would end up in trouble pretty quickly because that is just the nature of being a Westminster politician.
But you don't think it's not a good look, is it, to be elected? He could have stood in this general election that's just gone. He chose not to. And everyone knows why he wanted to have a run at this by-election. It isn't because he wants to trade, and I don't know how much the Mayor of Greater Manchester gets paid, but it will be more, I would imagine, than a backbench MP. So why would he want to trade that in to suddenly, I don't know, just disappear into the wings and, you know, work in his constituency, just one little constituency in Manchester rather than the whole empire? It's patently obvious why he wanted to run. And so, do you know what? I must admit, Sebastian, I literally, for the first time, I think, since he became Prime Minister, had a modicum of respect for Starmer, because I thought, get back in your box, Burnham. Who do you think you are?
Yeah, fair enough. Look, it's obvious that he's coming and he's going to try and stage some kind of a leadership bid, regardless of what he says now. So it pays to be vigilant towards that. I would have let him at least try. But look, he can do what he wants. I don't think he's going anywhere. I don't think the noise around him is going anywhere because we are just addicted to rolling through leaders. We saw it with the Tories every 2 or 3 years, a new Prime Minister.
Who's
and
we?
Where that left them. It gave them a we the voter base.
Who's we? Because it's not the general public, is it? We got fed up with musical chairs.
See, I think Keir Starmer has actually had a massive own goal here, because the reality is it's unlikely Labour are going to win that seat, and therefore Keir Starmer could have got rid of Andy Burnham by making him out to be a loser at the ballot box, and actually Keir Starmer could have made sure that happened by being photographed on the Labour leaflets with Andy Burnham and walking around the constituency with Andy Burnham.
Oh, come on. No, Burnham would have polled this. He's not an idiot. He would have polled it with name recognition. He'd have known that he'd have won that seat. The big question, Sebastian, though, is because this is it, right? Look, I've been a political strategist. I've worked in the sort of top levels, not just in, you know, parties in the UK, but abroad as well. So I know how the game works. I know the levers to pull, the datas to collect. I'm not talking about that sort of data. The field research to do, the focus groups to hold, and the polling that one does when you're looking who's going to win a constituency. And it comes down to who else is running, name recognition, etc. I mean, there are people in Gorton and Denton saying, well, I would have voted Andy Burnham, but as he's not standing, I'll vote Reform. So it's not necessarily always about party politics, it's about the character. And what I find quite interesting is Reform have chosen Matt Goodwin. I don't necessarily find it interesting that Reform have chosen Matt Goodwin. I find it interesting that Matt Goodwin has chosen Matt Goodwin because he is, of course, a political scientist and very good at data and very good at polling. And I can't see why a man who that is his particular expertise would choose to stand unless he thought it was a goal in the back of the net. So do you think that Labour are now going to lose the seat to Reform?
Well, look, we don't know what's going to happen. I'd be really interested to know what will play out, though, when the voters in Gorton and Denton find out about Matt's track record. I mean, some of the stuff he's come out with over the years, talking about culturally incompatible nations that undermine the foundations of our countries, talking about countries like Pakistan.
Right, but do you not think that's going to actually resonate with people in that area who have seen grooming gangs taking place?
Well, Gorton and Denton has a massive Muslim population, and 44% of them come from an ethnic minority background. And this is a guy who thinks that if you are from an ethnic background, like I am and like many of the voters there, then you don't necessarily get to call yourself English or British. I mean, I personally find that deeply, deeply insulting. And I think many of the voters will find that as well. So let's watch this play out, and let's watch the Matt Goodwin back catalogue resonate.
Well, let's on that. I mean, look, one can say Matt Goodwin isn't tarnished by Westminster. He has done a lot of interviews, once upon presupposes. But on that, it seems to me that the deputy leader of the Green Party might stand, Mothin Ali, and the sort of big organisations behind the more sectarian Muslim voting bloc are saying that they will back the Green Party. I mean, is that not going to be a big issue for Labour? Because that's going to munch away into any sort of majority that Labour might have hoped to have. And is that something that you welcome as the Labour Party? Because, you know, if we are going to be multicultural and not monocultural, then part of that is going to be that Pakistani candidates vote for the Pakistani candidate. It doesn't come down to politics anymore. It does come down to nationality, religion, skin colour.
Oh, that's always happened, though. I think women would vote for women, men would vote for men, doctors would vote for doctors. We all like people who are similar to us, don't we? And if there's something we see in a candidate that is like us, we're likely to go for it. And that stretches to religion and to race as well. So that's a voting pattern that's as old as the hills. It's got nothing to do with any demographic shifts in the country. Look, I think Labour has a fight on its hands, and I will be doing what I can to support the candidate that's selected. I really hope we'll win it. But
who do you think they're going to run out? Is it going to be a known name?
From Labour, I don't know.
Or are they just going to decide it's gone now?
I don't know. I mean, look, I hope they choose somebody local with links to the seat who can show that they've put in the effort in Manchester. And look, by-elections are always hard for the party that's in government. So we'll see what happens. But I will be doing everything I can to support whoever's selected.
And Jamie, do you think Matt Goodwin is the right choice? I mean, I saw Reform very much playing at, well, Matt Goodwin's gone home to Manchester. He's from Kent.
I think we have got a very good candidate in Matt. He's an exceptional communicator. I think he's somebody that understands the issues that affect all people, and he will obviously, having links to Manchester, will know what makes people in that part of the world tick politically. But I think what Matt has got, other than exceptional communication skills, is he's got competence. And I believe that people actually want to see competent politicians representing them, people that actually know what they're talking about. Whenever I hear Matt speak, other than his effective communication skills, he has the facts. They are always there. He has an answer for everything. And he's a very good debater. He's very good at debate, and he convinces people. And I think he will convince the people of that constituency to support reform. And the people you just mentioned, actually, so many of those people choose to support reform. Many of the people in the communities you've just described are actually entrepreneurs, and they are being punished by this government. I think this is far more than just an immigration election.
But Sebastian does have a point. Matt has been extremely strident when it comes to debating, let's say, or emphasising his views on multiculturalism, and he is standing in a very multicultural area. Is he going to be in for a rough ride?
He's a conviction politician, and lots of people that live in multicultural areas actually resonate with the message that people like Matt have been sharing, which is that it's not working. And if you're somebody that lives in that community...
Jamie, if you turn up in a seat that you have no links to and you start telling people that they're not really British, they're probably not going to endear themselves to you, are they?
It's not about messages like that. It's the point that multiculturalism in Britain is not working. We see that in places like Manchester, we see that in places like London, and therefore Matt is somebody that can explain his argument very effectively, and I think he'll enjoy explaining that to people.
I'll tell you what, as probably the only person in this conversation who actually did live in Gorton and Denton, believe it or not, 3 years I lived there. I know, I should have been the candidate. But no, I didn't know. I'm joking. I did not even remotely suggest that I should be in the running. But I did live there for 3 years. And what I would say is that constituency is a constituency of two halves. You've got one part of the constituency, which is very much your old sort of British Brexit voting patriots, and the other half, which is the opposite. So it will be all to play for, I would say. It'll be interesting to see what the Green Party will do. I think it's going to be a fruity by-election. But like I said, Matt Goodwin, he is a political scientist. You'd think he wouldn't back himself if he really didn't think he was going to get it. Anyway, guys, it's been a pleasure having your company. Gloves off, swig some water, and off you go for some post-match pampering. Thank you ever so much to Jamie McIver and Sebastian Salek. Now, after the break, we're going to be getting back into the subject of Minnesota, because nobody is saying this in the UK. Because you know what journalism's like in the UK? Oh, just repeating stuff someone else has said and trying to sound woke. No one talks about stories anymore. No one gets a fresh angle. No one does their research. No one gets a new line. No one wants to be the first person to put their head above the parapet and say, do you know what, this is what's really going on? Oh no, they're all cowards waiting for someone else to do it first. Then one journalist does a story and they all queue up ready to repeat it because it's the safe thing to do. Well, I'm going to be the first to say that the more I read about these protests taking place in Minnesota, the more I learn about coordinated signal groups, the more I see that people are being encouraged to use cars as part of protesting, that some of these people, whether it's many or a minority, are indeed armed, and not just with toy guns, some pretty serious-looking firearms. When you look at the sophistication of the coordination of what's been going on, I think it's chilling. This isn't just activists. These aren't just do-gooders, like I said, gluing themselves to a motorway bridge, waving some placards. But perhaps some of them are. But there's definitely a kernel of something quite sinister taking place, and I want to explore that topic more. So that's what we're going to be doing with US journalist Matt Bielinski just after this.
Welcome to Down the Local, the show that goes from pub to pub across the country, speaking to the punters about the subjects driving us all nuts at the moment.
That's Rachel Reeves, Rachel Thieves, Rachel McCounts.
I don't really know Meghan Markle. I know Meghan Markle's from Suits, and that's about it.
I don't know about anyone else, and I don't know where this is going. I have 0% beers, and I feel
Raising the flag, I think, is symptomatic of this desperation.
Is public transport good value for money?
No, it isn't.
You really don't like speaking to people.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, welcome back. Like I said, if there was some sort of special feature where you could listen to the gallery conversations, it would be worth it. But no, you can't, so they're going to stay secret. Anyway, before the break, I was telling you that I really want to do what no other journalist in the UK is doing and really start digging deep into what has been going on in Minnesota, because my understanding is, looking at some American reportage now, is there is now conversation. Steve Miller and indeed, I think even Kash Patel are talking about the sophistication of some of these protests taking place in Minnesota. So rather than me try and do the explaining, I thought it'd be best to go across the pond and get a real-life, good quality, actual journalist who knows what news is to do the explaining for us, which is why we've got Matt Bielinski on the show. Hello, Matt.
Hey, Alex, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
Fantastic.
Good. Now, talk to me about Trump withdrawing the agents and the Border Patrol chief from Minneapolis. Of course, there have been these two horrific shootings. At the end of the day, unless you're some sort of monstrous sociopath, when people get shot, it isn't good and it isn't nice and it's ugly. And there's been huge debates, and certainly those debates are taking place in the United Kingdom, social media, all the rest of it, whether they were lawful, whether they weren't, etc. And yet I think there's something else going on with the withdrawing of agents. And I think part of it might be to do with quite how disturbing some elements of these protests are. Can you tell me the latest coming out of America?
Sure. Well, as you mentioned, Trump is withdrawing certain executive officers or leaders of the Border Patrol organization, and a lot of people are misattributing which Border Patrol service was involved in this most recent incident. It actually wasn't ICE. It was just General Border Patrol, and that gives rise to questions about whether or not that was the right agency and the right set of agents to be in Minnesota handling whatever they were handling. But regardless of the validity of the shooting or whether or not it constitutes criminal activity, Donald Trump, I think, is acknowledging that some of the tactics and the media response from this gentleman, Mr. Bovino, haven't reflected that well on his administration, and that was the reason for the withdrawal. But he's not withdrawing the agents more generally, and and another element of this that people seem to be ignoring is that now finally the local officials, meaning Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, they have agreed to let local law enforcement handle some of the crowd control and the arrests of the protesters that are getting out and getting unruly and breaking the law. That's why that was part of a deal. What the Trump administration had been trying to negotiate with local officials for weeks now, that if you take more agency and if you take more of the local responsibility to handle some of these protests, we don't have to be so heavy-handed with the federal agents, whether it be Border Patrol or ICE agents, that might have to then take on activities and responsibilities beyond what they're trying to do in the first place, which is enforce immigration law and find illegal aliens.
Let's talk about the unruly protesters, because I've seen certain posts on social media which have garnered millions and millions of views, some of them. Certainly one, a guy called Cam Higby. I cannot testify as to the veracity of what he claims, and I don't know him from Adam, quite frankly. But he says he penetrated some of the signal groups being used to coordinate and control these so-called activists. And what he has suggested is that they are clearly showing signs of almost military-level coordination, OPSEC hygiene, as I heard one particular commentator call it, with a suggestion that this isn't just a normal, on a Saturday afternoon, some left-leaning sympathetic types want to go and wave some placards because they think, snatching people out of their places of work, legal or otherwise, it isn't a pretty sight. But there could be something far more sinister going on here, something far more curated and potentially far more dangerous. Have you got any sort of thoughts on that matter?
I have a ton of thoughts, and while I don't personally know Mr. Higby, I'm familiar with his work, and more so, I'm familiar with the tactics of these organized left-wing organizations because I've dealt with them here in Los Angeles, not just in regards to the 2020 riots, and this is something that people who aren't that involved in politics and don't live and breathe this stuff might think is some right-wing fantasy, but it's absolutely not. There are organized left-wing anarchist and subversive groups that make it their business, their deliberate objective, to go ahead and interfere with law enforcement, sometimes local law enforcement and the police, and in this case, Border Patrol and the federal agents. And this is whether or not the specific text messages that Cam Higby purports to be exhibiting to people are accurate. There's no reason to believe they're not accurate. There's copious amounts of evidence that these groups, one, exist, two, do communicate in this manner, and three, are making it their business and giving and instructing members, not just people who've been members for a long time, but people who might find what ICE or Border Patrol is doing objectionable and want to somehow get involved, to instruct them on how to interfere with or obstruct active law enforcement operations. This is not something that's new. This is not a fantasy. I've dealt with many of these groups here in Los Angeles. They're nationwide in their scope. They communicate via digital communication, and there's no shortage of evidence that that is what was going on here in Minneapolis. You don't have a bunch of protest. The idea that these were just peaceful protesters who held up signs and were just trying to express themselves is complete, utter fantasy. You have organized groups of these people somehow finding out where ICE agents, not even while they're conducting operations are sleeping. The hotels that they're sleeping at and going and banging gongs and blowing whistles and making noise outside their hotels in order to disrupt their sleep. You see them blocking traffic, or not just blocking traffic, but instructing others to block traffic, which there's quite a bit of evidence that Mr. Preddy was involved in as well. So there's a ton of evidence that this was an active operation to disrupt and interfere physically with the conduct of legal, valid law enforcement actions by Border Patrol. And these were not just, quote unquote, peaceful protesters who were just expressing themselves.
Do you think the next step is America's going to need to, and you know what, this is happening in the UK. I have no doubt. We've got yet another blimmin' pro-Palestine march in London on Saturday. That war's now over, but they don't care. And I think it's about time that in the West we got real about this, because like you said, this isn't just a load of sort of, bleeding heart liberals who want something to do on a Saturday. There is something, I think, quite sinister going on here, especially when people are taking weapons to these protests. OK, very different in America, where you have a right to bear arms. We don't in the United Kingdom, and I actually think, thank goodness, that we don't. Not that I sort of disagree with the right to bear arms in America, because you can't undo it now, you've got it. But, we don't tend to have that happening here. But when people are being encouraged to use vehicles, which of course can be a lethal weapon, is it about time, and perhaps this is going to be what now happens, that we look into the funding streams of some of these organisations who curate these protests? We look at how they're being managed, infiltrated, where some of these protesters were in receipt of training manuals. Who's publishing those? Are there hostile states involving themselves in order to disrupt society? Because this is, to me, becoming such an existential threat across the West. And I said earlier, when America sneezes, we catch a cold. And so I certainly am looking at Donald Trump, and because he is such a rambunctious character and naturally quite divisive, I kind of think, and I'm a big fan of Donald Trump, but I think in this matter, he's an accelerant when it comes to now managing what is looking like the beginning of an insurgency.
Sure. And people have amnesia. They have short memories. We went through this in 2020. Everyone forgets the trope, mostly peaceful protests. These people kind of put in the fantasy that as long as only some people involved in a protest are being violent, are causing destruction, havoc, chaos, property damage, assaulting people, that it doesn't matter, that everybody else who's at that protest in that physical space is just fine, that you can are just going ahead and expressing their views. Nothing can be further from the truth. If you are actively involved in a group some sort of organized protest that is involved in harassing people, property damage, interference or obstruction with law enforcement agencies and their activities, you are part and parcel to whatever is going on there. And there are groups that are clearly, and unless they want to go ahead and prove that everything that multiple sources has uncovered are AI generated, that nobody is organizing these things amongst people who are not just trying to protest, but take actions to physically interfere with law enforcement operations as they're going on. They're not AI generated. These are all true. These groups proudly do it. And yes, if you are actively encouraging people to disrupt or interfere with law enforcement activities, you are breaking the law. And it's just shocking that people in the West, for whatever they may think of the ultimate result of some of these incidents, that you could say, something, regardless of the underlying crime and regardless of what these protesters are doing, if it results in fatalities, I think excessive force is being used. I'm going to disagree with that, but that's something that reasonable people can disagree upon. What you cannot disagree upon is that deliberately going ahead and planning to obstruct or interfere with active law enforcement operations is a crime, and the people that are conspiring and communicating to do this are committing crimes, and that needs to be addressed.
For crying out loud, didn't someone bite the finger off somebody, a law enforcement
Absolutely.
officer? It's just
They're
vile.
hitting ICE and Border Patrol agents with snowballs, and I'm sorry, going ahead and while someone is in the middle of their job, blowing a whistle into their ear to interfere with them doing their job, this is a crime. I cannot just go do this to anybody else on the street. If I went to my neighbor's house and was banging a gong or banging pans outside their window deliberately to interfere with their sleep, they could call the police on me and I could be arrested. For some reason, these people are supposed to be immune to that. They're clearly breaking the law.
But this is the thing. I mean, I don't know if I'm assuming you do have the same problem in America, which is in the United Kingdom. We constantly hear that, well, there's some Islamist terror groups, but there's also far right. It's always as if there's like, an equal balance of, the people who want to blow you up because they want to shout Allahu Akbar and point at the sky, and then skinheads. And quite frankly, I can't think of a single far-right attack that's happened, if there had been a far-right attack in the United Kingdom, you can bet yourself that every single newspaper would run it as the front page for months and months and months. We wouldn't hear the end of it. So where are these sort of weird far-right activist groups, the far-right terrorists? What we do have, and we're not talking about it in the United Kingdom, not properly, only little pockets like on my show, is we have extreme left terrorists. That is what's taking place. We spent half of the last century fighting the evils of communism. We now got it running our government, and the worst elements of it seem to now be taking control of the streets.
Without a doubt, you definitely have a problem with this in the United Kingdom. I've seen it in a lot of other European capitals that, once again, there is a right to peacefully protest, and people are falsifying that and disingenuously using that to deflect from other criminal behavior that goes well beyond that. They are harassing people. They are disrupting civil disorder. They're resulting in property damage, sometime in physically violent incidents as well. These are not just people who are innocently putting up signs on a Sunday for an hour or two, not blocking roads, letting normal societal activity continue to be conducted in spite of them, and then going home. That is not what is happening. It is meant to intimidate. It is meant to harass people, and to get local politicians to bend their will to these people, and then kind of hide behind the false, plausible deniability of we are just freely expressing our views. That's not what's going on.
And briefly, Matt, what do you think is going to happen next in terms of managing this situation? Do you think Trump is going to look to, I don't know, prescribe Antifa, shut down Signal, or is it sort of such a combustible situation that he's going to have to, you know, which is very untypical for him, put on the kid gloves a little bit as he handles this?
You know, as I said earlier in our conversation, that now, since the Alex Pretty situation, it appears that local law enforcement and local officials are now taking more responsibility for maintaining order. Because that has happened, I think the situation is actually going to improve, because Trump finally got something out of the local officials that he was asking for. He says, listen, as is their responsibility, local police and local law enforcement need to shut down these rioters who are going beyond just basic freedom of expression. And that is now happening. Number two, so that is happening. So I think that will actually tame the situation. Number two, there were some members of the Trump administration that I do think were being a little too performative in how they were instructing ICE officers and immigration officials, agents on how to conduct themselves. And there's a gentleman named Tom Homan, who's been a leader of ICE for a long time. He was even honored by the Obama administration. Yeah. He's a true pro, okay? He obviously can't do every job. So Donald Trump had Kristi Noem and a couple other officials in charge of the Minnesota operations. He realized, okay, these people are over their skis. They're not equipped to handle the situation. I need to put Tom Homan in charge of the Minnesota situation. So between the local officials accepting, like, wait a second, we need to tell police to actually do their job and protect federal officers and not allow them to protest and obstruct them in the middle of their job, that will help. Tom Homan being in charge instead of Kristi Noem, I think, is going to help as well. And in terms of looking at the groups that are funding these subversives, or whatever the funding sources are for these groups that are deliberately trying to interfere with valid law enforcement activity, I think you're going to start seeing some arrests. There's definitely going to be some law enforcement activity in that direction.
And I hope to see it indeed myself. Matt, thank you ever so much for coming and breaking all that down for us. And do keep us updated as to how things go, because not all news manages to make it this side of the pond. That was Matt Belinsky, US journalist there. If you've never come across Tom Homan, that guy looks like some sort of characteristic paradigm gangster, and he's got this amazing growl. He's like, I love him. He's honestly, he's like a caricature of what exactly you'd want controlling your borders. But he was honoured by Barack Obama, and Barack Obama himself did quite a few deportations, but that's okay because he's a Democrat. Right, we're going to take a short break now, but when we come back, we're joined by another brilliant friend of mine. I know, I'm just going through my phone book, getting all my mates on because I miss them. This time around, it's going to be the wonderful Emma Trimble, writer, broadcaster and presenter. I love her to bits. She's coming up after this.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello and welcome back. Dean was having a panic then because all the computers in the building have frozen. I can actually testify to that. I'm wiggling the mice in front of my Cape Canaveral and nothing is moving. It's like, I don't know, something funny's gone on in the system. It must be Antifa. They must have heard what I said. China! China! It must be China listening in that mega embassy going like, no, we're the ones funding Antifa. Stop them in their tracks. But hopefully this is still working. The broadcast is still going out. Or are you just watching, I don't know, some sort of pixelated... Is it that woman with that little girl with the sort of teddy and the different coloured squares? The, what was that thing called, that little card back in TV days? I think we should have that. Perhaps I should get out some sort of crayons and, you know, do some graffiti on the wall behind me like a blackboard and just sort of sit there like that. Anyway, no, let's not bother doing that because apparently it is still working. And so let's invite onto HMS Common Sense the wonderful Emma Trimble. Hi, Ems.
Good to be with you, Alex.
Good to have you here. Right.
Long time no see.
Well, I was going to say long time no see, but I actually can't see you. I think most people watching are stuck with my old mug when yours is far more attractive to look at, which is such a shame. So as we actually can't see Emma, I'm just going to describe her. She's 6'2", legs longer than a telephone pylon, the most voluptuous blonde hair, bee-stung lips, big blue eyes. I mean, she's just hot as hell.
It sounds like you're describing Lizzie Cundy.
In her dreams. Anyway, let us.
You missed off my Charlie Hebdo hat behind me there, Alex.
Have you got a Charlie Hebdo hat? That's a very cool sort of right-wing thing to have on your sort of bookshelf.
Maybe I should be wearing it, but then no one would be able to see.
No, in fact, like I said, at the moment, people, I think, can only see me. So there you go. I feel like I should sort of put on a range of costumes to entertain people. Let us, though, as we have got your mellifluous tones, get into talking about politics. Before we start talking about domestic politics, I don't know if you heard the conversation I was having with Matt Belinsky before the break about the nature of protesting in America and whether we should be really worried now in the United Kingdom for who might be funding some of these activist organisations, how coordinated they are, what their intent is. Because, you know, it's one thing when you've got Phoebe What's-Her-Chops chucking some beans on a painting or, you know, some bozos gluing themselves to a road, although that does actually stop the passage of ambulances and massively inconvenience a lot of people. I sort of feel like, you know, it's almost like you give them an inch and they will take a mile, that we're beginning to lean into a situation now where protesters themselves are becoming more and more violent or beginning to sort of find ways to enact the law on a greater and greater basis. And we're reaching boiling point.
I think on the one hand, it's a sort of no-brainer, isn't it, to be at least interested. You would think the authorities would take an interest in knowing if there is coordinated protest activity, who might be behind it. Is there any foreign money involved? Because we know that to China, absolutely everything is a weapon. But on the other hand, I don't think that, you know, where the evidence of that is, sure, we should be looking into it. But I don't think that we should underestimate the natural quality of some of these protests. We've let in hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people in a very short amount of time. You know, even just in the last couple of years, talking about the Boris wave. We've let in so many people from across the world who are inflamed by all sorts of conflicts happening across the world. We have a police force that kowtows to whoever is the most likely to kick off in these scenarios and doesn't enforce the law without fear or favour, which is why we have these accusations of two-tier policing and two-tier justice. So actually, I think a lot of the explanation for why we're seeing protest movements becoming more aggressive, people being more inclined to break the law because they think that the ends justify the means and that they are justified in doing whatever it takes in order to get people to bend to their will. The reason for that is because when they do break the law, they're not properly punished for it. And people like myself have been warning this throughout all of the Black Lives Matter protests, throughout the pro-Palestine protests, throughout Extinction Rebellion protests, that if you allow things like criminal damage, if you allow certain people to get away with certain behaviour, that will escalate. And And that's exactly what we're seeing right now. So I think a lot of that is people taking up ideologies in the way that human beings tend to. But yeah, of course, we should always be looking at things that might be in the interests of foreign powers. It's always useful to have some investigation into that, isn't it?
I wonder, right, because I've done some digging around on, you mentioned the influence that certain community leaders are having over certain police forces. I think about West Midlands, I think about the clerics, the imams in the Aston area, who seem to not only appoint the chief constable there, but then tell him that they weren't going to allow Jewish fans in because they were going to beat him up and rip him to shreds, and then make him turn around and pretend it was the Jewish fans who were the problem. And what we saw in the last election, and my gosh, don't we have selective amnesia at times, but in certain constituencies, some of those constituency battles got really quite brutal, because we have seen the introduction of sectarian voting in the United Kingdom. I think of the Rochdale by-election. Simon Danchuk was the candidate for reform, and I remember him saying to me, oh my goodness, it was the George Galloway bunch there. And he just said it was terrifying at times, absolutely terrifying. Now, of course, I think George Galloway is thinking of throwing his hat, which he constantly wears, into the ring in Gorton and Denton. The Green Party, I believe, are planning on running out their unelected deputy leader, well, not their leaders elected either, Mothin Ali. And Muslim organisations have turned around and said, we are going to get the Muslim vote behind Mothin Ali if he wins. And I wonder quite how fruity that by-election is going to get, because it's very much a constituency of two halves. On one hand, you've got the sort of native Mancs, the Mancunians, who are more likely to have voted for Brexit and have that sense of huge, sweeping cultural and demographic change in the place where they grew up. On the other, you've got the people who are the cause of that change. And then on the reform side, you've got Matt Goodwin, who's been quite polemical about his views when it comes to multiculturalism. And so I wonder, actually, if this is going to end up becoming quite an ugly contest.
Yeah, I think this is going to turn out to be a little petri dish of our politics at large. As something about this by-election feels a bit different to the others that have come before, particularly because it's looking as if it's going to be a two-horse race, not between Labour and the Conservatives, but between Reform and the Greens, which is something that we are probably likely to see in many constituencies as we go forward. Who knows what will happen in those.
But in terms of Reform and the Greens, I think we can actually, this is what I'm trying to say, I think we can devolve it down to another layer, because I believe what is going to happen is the Green Party, it's been a long time since they gave us stuff about fly tipping and recycling. I get the impression it's going to become a battle between the Reform candidate, which is closed borders, deportations, versus the Muslim vote.
Yeah, and actually what's interesting about that is that we've seen in other constituencies in the last general election, even though we've seen that various independent pro-Gaza candidates have been elected to Parliament, and actually a lot of pro-Gaza candidates have been elected in councils around the country, which is something that we talk about a lot less because it's on a local level. But underneath the surface, you see that with a lot of these big Labour figures, people like Wes Streeting, who is tipped to maybe be the next Labour leader if they manage to defenestrate Starmer, his majority was cut substantially by of these independent pro-Gaza Muslim candidates. So the Muslim vote, I think, is going to become it's already a significant player in our politics, but this is something that I think that it is going to become almost a staple of our political landscape, given the size of the Muslim population, the fact that it's one of the only groups in the country that's actually demographics in the country that's growing, and also the fact that they are so organised. There is even an organisation called Muslim Vote. That is about.
You look at some of those affiliate organisations, and it's worth digging into. But the last time I checked, some of the affiliate organisations that back the concept of the Muslim vote are organisations that were on Michael Gove's "These organisations should be prescribed" list. And where we have seen big Muslim voting populations before. In some constituencies, we've seen let's say, a rather surprising number of postal votes coming in.
Well, I'm not sure if you're making a nod there to a certain mayor of a certain borough of London.
Oh, went to prison? Who went to prison for ballot stuffing? But no, not just that. I mean, the same happened in Peterborough back in the day. But this is, you know, having sort of worked in politics in the UK before, it's quite an old tactic. And I think that one is very much accelerating now, happening very much at local level, happening at councils up and down the country. And I just wonder, I mean, you know, it's when you've got a situation where the local imam says, I'm going to coordinate all the votes of the mosque and register everyone for a postal vote and then hand them all in.
Well, you know what? I think the system that we have, the democratic system that we have, is not fit for the multicultural society. I was going to say we have created, maybe I should say has been inflicted on us. Partly because democratic institutions run with an assumption of some degree of autonomous individualism. One person, one vote, that's the idea of universal suffrage. However, if you have certain communities that are, you know, have a very tightly knit, not only family structure, but also as a community, that changes the dynamic of the way that people vote, inevitably, of course. Do. So maybe the government, this government obviously wouldn't do it, but maybe perhaps they might be forced to if they feel that they might lose their seats if they don't. The government should be looking into tightening up the way that postal voting happens.
I think, frankly, I think we need to basically get rid of it, apart from in extreme circumstances. It absolutely rips the proverbial out of free and fair elections.
Maybe it's something that you should have to apply for, and to prove why you should be allowed the exception of having a postal vote. And particularly if somebody doesn't have a basic standard of English, they shouldn't be allowed to have the postal vote, because that would inevitably make them vulnerable to somebody else filling in their vote for them. So maybe it needs to be tightened so that people have to.
Without a doubt. And as somebody who's worked in elections around the world as well, when you import people from other countries, you import their tribal voting systems, their balkanised blocks, but you also import some of their political malpractices. And I have seen it in certain countries where I've been stationed that, well, free and fair elections, my backside. We're going to have to take a short break, but hopefully we're going to have a little word with Emma. Dean's going to try and put her in a bit of a Chinese arm burn. And are you allowed to say that anymore? Is that sort of politically correct? Oh, I don't know. Let's go for an Anglo-Saxon. What do they used to call it? But what's that thing called? Oh, I don't know. Anyway, we're going to try and persuade Emma to stay with us until 9, and hopefully you will as well, all the way to 10 o'clock. We're back after this.
Welcome to Down the Local, the show that goes from pub to pub across the country, speaking to the punters about the subjects driving us all nuts at the moment.
Rachel Reeves, Rachel Thieves, Rachel McCown.
I don't really know Meghan Markle. I know Meghan Markle's from Sinks, that's about it.
I don't know about anyone else, and I don't know where this is going. I have 0% beers, and I feel
Raising the flag, I think, is symptomatic of its desperation.
Is public transport good value for money?
No,
fucking isn't.
You really don't like speaking to people.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk. Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk. Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk. Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk. Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk. Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk. Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk. Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk. Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk. Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk. Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk. Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk. Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk. Across the UK, across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hey, I've got a voice. I know I was sitting there scratching, leaving my mum messages on the phone because it all went a bit weird then, people. Like, seriously, the computers froze. Then we got word that Times Radio had gone off air. Then we got word that Talk Sport had gone off air. And all of a sudden it's like, bye. And we didn't know what was going on. So I was just sitting there like having a chat on my phone, speaking to Emma, leaving my mum a voice note, having a good old scratch because, you know, I get eczema during advert breaks. I like a bit of a blue bear. But I'm looking out the window and, Paul, do you reckon that's a blackout?
That's a blind, isn't it, I hope?
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
It looks like one to me.
I was convinced that I actually had made like a hostage sign, power outage in London.
Can you imagine?
Is it blind?
That's brilliant.
That's such a blonde moment. Anyway, Paul Cox joins me in the
Hello.
studio. I don't know if... Oh, yes, look, that camera's working. There's two of us here.
That one is on. Hello.
Guys, I don't know what's going on. My mum was saying this is the third time I've seen adverts, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth. I'm like, what do you want me to do? Become like Nikola Tesla or something and like cure the nation's electricity? I don't know what is going on in the building, but we were really stressed that we wouldn't be able to roll video clips or anything. So I was like, bring me the papers. Mainly because I thought I'd have a peaceful hour of doing cryptic crosswords, but apparently no, work hasn't finished yet and I've still got to broadcast. But thankfully you are here to help me. Because we were going to cover loads of sort of interesting video clips we'd harvested to laugh at, but in the current climate when... Oh, no, the computers are working again.
Are they?
Oh, yeah, my mouse is wiggling.
Better.
Oh, my mouse. I think we might even be able to play a video clip or two because I was like, oh, I'll just have to do a paper review or something, thinking on my little journalistic feet there. I'm glad you pointed out that that's probably
yeah,
a blind.
it looks like, I mean, imagine if it's not.
Well,
and London is literally that dark.
I said to them in the gallery, is that a blackout? Is that a blackout? And they seem to go along with it. Anyway.
Well, in there is pandemonium. This is fun. We're all having a great time, but out there...
I'll tell you what, I had asked Matt for another Coke Zero, and he was like, yeah, the vending machine's gone out as well. I was like, no!
No way, had it?
Yeah, apparently.
I think they
but
lied,
hold on. Yeah, I'm going to talk to control. I'm going to press my talk to control button. Right, now, there we go. I just ordered my Coke Zero. Let us talk and let's see. Let's see what videos we can scare up from our defunct, recently crashed system to entertain the world with. Because, first of all, I mean, I had one on the show yesterday. It's the gift that won't stop giving. I love it, I love it, I love it. Can Keir Starmer just quit as Prime Minister and make TikToks? Because it's just, honestly...
That would serve us all a lot of good,
It's the only time that man has the ability to make me laugh a little bit. Let's have a look at his latest offering.
Across Norfolk?
Yeah, they're doing it in Norfolk. But
That's good.
And that's because of our funding.
Yeah, nice to see you.
It's a pleasure meeting you.
No, I think you came into my house, didn't you?
Yes, I did. And I loved I didn't want to leave.
When I said I was meeting you today,
Yeah.
my daughter is 15, said, no way. So...
Can you imagine? Prime Minister daughter knows me.
I've got a surprise for you.
Sorry?
It's your TikTok app.
Very, very good.
What was that? Paul, there's so much to unpick here. First of all, there was like some sort of random rubbish suburban street that just did nothing. There was a bit of like deep red zone noise where he was sitting on like a train or an aeroplane or something, just looking like a robot. I don't know if they're supposed to humanise him. And then the biggest mystery is who's that black woman and why was she in his house?
No idea. None of this was explained, was it?
Nothing.
Nothing was explained. It looked like he mentioned his daughter in there. It looked like he had a small child making the video for a start. We knew he was in Norwich because they showed a sign of Norwich.
Yeah.
But they did it in a way that was kind of like, it was trying to be artsy, but sort of maybe.
And it's like, look at all this good stuff.
Art.
He's like, that's our funding.
It's terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. Can you imagine any serious politician or leader? It's not like the world is just a bundle of fun either, Alex. The point is the world's a bin fire, and our Prime Minister, who is the most unpopular man, let alone Prime Minister, of all time, is just wandering around making TikTok videos.
But that wasn't him making it. I have no idea. What was that?
I don't know.
Did you see he did a comedy thing like last night or something, wearing aviators and pretending to be Macron?
Yeah, I think he's
given up.
I really don't know what he's trying to do, but I don't think there's an audience big enough for him. If he just imagine if he was just Keir Starmer on TikTok, and there was no, you know, maybe that's what it is. There was no Downing Street behind him. There was nothing. He's just gone rogue on his own, and he's making content because he's thinking there's no job for me left after this, and he's going to have to get his own YouTube channel.
Oh, he's going to be doing a podcast next.
It's going to be like Liz Truss, but not as good.
I was one of her first guests. Thank you very much.
Were you?
I was. She sort of got on the
Liz.
blower and said, Alex,
come and get me.
Yeah. But, you know, maybe it's because he's off to China and he's like, you know, China's like, right, this guy is so far up our backsides, we're going to now run our algorithm so all you ever see on TikTok is Starmer, and they've just got, like, you know, don't tell me. Matt, is that vending machine still not working?
I really tried.
Oh, for God's sakes.
Unbelievable.
This is just shambolic in here. This is like some sort of student dorm.
What's the point
There's
of being in
half-eaten pizza crusts.
What's the point of being in the ECHR if you can't get a Diet Coke?
I know.
There's no point being in there.
I mean, Matt, come on. I mean, just because I don't have a Diet Coke, what am I supposed to do? Die of dehydration now? Can you not find a substitute? A cup of tea will do, love. You know, yes, thank you, tea. Blimmin' heck. They think that you sit in here in this highly air-conditioned studio yabbering away for hours and you don't need a drink. Anyway, no, but it's interesting, isn't it? Because this whole TikTok thing, it was Ed Miliband who seemed to sort of really start embracing the platform.
He was serenading a wind farm, wasn't he? With a
was weird. With a ukulele or something.
That was weird, by the way. Let's not.
He's weird.
Shouldn't even. He is well weird. He is really weird.
What is that face?
I don't know.
What's that made of?
He cycled past me in London just a few weeks ago, and he looked at me as if he knew me. And I thought, he can't. Surely he can't. Because I do take the mickey out of him a lot. And I'm sure he doesn't know me. But even then he seemed weird. The whole interaction was weird. And he's weird. I don't know any other word to describe it. The ukulele serenading of the wind farm for me was the end. And by the way, this guy's got a budget. It's got a billions of pounds budget to tank our economy into the ground.
To tank our electrics in Talk Towers, apparently.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is.
But no, it seems to me that they've decided, do you know what we need to do? Keir Starmer's so unpopular, let's try and make him look like a human. They tried this with Theresa May during that election campaign. It's like, no, you're a robot, forget it.
And I think this is the point. Sometimes you've just got to live and let live. If they are weird, and most of them are...
Very.
Let's just say they're weird. And usually there's some other strengths. That's the thing about this particular cabinet.
Often weird people do have sort of superpowers.
They've got all these other strengths. They can make the country work. But this cabinet has just got weird. They haven't added any of the other stuff in.
Who's the weirdest?
It's probably Ed Miliband.
Oh, yeah, it's hard
to... The most normal seems
that.
to me... I sat next to him on a train, actually. This sounds like I'm just name job. I do not meet all these people. We're streeting.
Yeah, he seems relatively normal.
His interaction... I never spoke to him myself.
Dan Jarvis, I think he's on the normal spectrum.
Yeah.
He's actually... When you come across Dan Jarvis, I think you're in the wrong party, mate. You don't seem very left-wing to me.
Yes.
He seems very...
Who else have I met from that side of things? Not many.
There's a whole lot of sinus issues in that party,
Yes.
and a whole load of strange, improbable hairstyles.
What's weird is the advisors that I meet, they all seem okay. I mean, nuts, because they're on the left, and they're all like in their 20s, most of them, and you think the world is great, and it's all going to be
But
like.
they haven't been down the voice mangling factory.
No, they have not been down the voice mangling factory. But honestly, I don't really know. What we really need, and we were told these were the grown-ups back in the room, weren't we? Do you remember that? Back in the July of 23
The
or whatever.
grown-up what?
The what? Yeah,
What?
exactly.
Grown in what sort of test tube, in what laboratory is what I want to know.
And I think this is a really good case for having regular, normal people in politics. If you look at what's going on with reform...
Are there regular, normal people left in Britain? That's all I wonder. You know, when you look around, it's
I'm not putting myself in that group. I'm not putting myself in that group.
I don't know what qualifies as regular and normal anymore. Everyone's gone weird.
People who get up in the morning and go to work. Most of them are right.
There's only about 3 of us left.
Yes, I know, exactly. But there's got to be some people. I mean, don't call in. Don't apply. This isn't a job offer. But there's got to be some normal people out there somewhere.
Actually, let's do this. Do you think you are normal? We're going to put you to the test. If you think you're normal, call. Actually, basically, anyone who replies to the invitation of if you think you're normal, call this number, has already been disqualified.
I've got to say,
definitely not okay.
If you think you're normal, you're probably not. Ask some people you know. That would apply. I'd say go round your friend group. Ask them if you're normal, and if they all say yes, then get involved. But if none of them say, we could create a whole problem here. There could be a whole raft of issues created as a result of this, because there's lots of
In fact, let's just ask a question. Send me a WhatsApp who you think the most normal politician is. 03444991000. Give me an example of normal and politician. Anyway, let's talk now about Holly Valance, who at one point was with Nick Candy, who's now the treasurer and sort of chief donor or
Is she not with
something
Nick Candy anymore?
No, I think they parted their ways.
I'll be in the DMs now, I think.
We're going to slide down the Valance route. Get in there, are you?
Slide down the
I don't
Valance
blame you. She's a good-looking girl.
Look, she
with
is.
sound
She is.
politics.
There's a bit of a problem, though. There's a matching issue. But you never know. Maybe she's watching. Hey, Holly.
Yeah. I mean, you know, now she's been around politics a lot, she'll probably look at you and you're going to be Brad Pitt to her eyes. These days, when you look at all the other creatures she's having to knock about with. But anyway, she, of course, was...
I don't know where the compliment is, but I'm taking it.
You have that. You banked that one. But she, of course, had this song. Was it a one-hit wonder? No, she had more than one.
What was it just called?
Mainly, it's called Kiss Kiss.
It was called Kiss Kiss, yeah.
Actually, I don't know what I was trying to do.
I do remember
I should not
her
try and do that.
Because
everyone fancied her when she was in Neighbours.
I did. It's
everyone's
I
guilty
did fancy
crush.
her, actually. Yeah, let's have it out there. And I watched Neighbours, so that meant that I had seen her. And then she had this one song, but did she do any movies? I don't think she did she?
I don't know.
My research has been limited, Alex.
No, I know. I don't think it's either of our fortes, really.
No,
sort of
not really.
Neighbours stars. Actually, Neighbours stars in the 90s probably is one of my fortes. It was the last time I watched...
Did you watch Neighbours?
Last time I watched BBC.
Yes, true. It was great, though. I love Neighbours.
I loved it so much. Who was your favourite character?
I think, like Paul, because he was so mean. Not
Who was
because
the
I'm
mean
mean.
one?
But no, I'm not. I'd love to think I could be, but I'm
I
not.
love the dynamics in the Kennedy household, especially when Carl went to have that affair with Sarah. And they didn't even really have much of an affair, did they? It was sort of like just chatting each other up in the doctor's waiting room or something. But it's like really, it was quite extreme back in the day. But anyway, talking about Holly Valance, apparently she's penned a controversial new song that mocks trans people, mocks snowflakes, and mocks woke culture. And I think we get to see it.
Keep it in the sheet, 'cause I gotta be another D. And I don't care what people say. I'll never be a him within the face. 'Cause I'm a real biological woman, a real biological woman. 'Cause you know I'm the original thought. I was born this way, it's in my DNA. I'm a real biological woman. Real diabolical lefty, a real diabolical lefty. Ideology, feeding hate in you. I'll intimidate, I'll indoctrinate. I'm a real diabolical lefty, a real diabolical lefty. Kick your bias at the door, pretty. Welcome to country, it's not your land. It's your wife's boyfriend. All this privilege is yanking on the chain, while common sense is going down the drain. Doing hard time for my hate speech. You can shovel your opinions and beliefs. 'Cause I'm a real pathological snowflake, a real pathological snowflake. Trying to run the world, but we don't multiply. So stand aside, 'cause we're the DEI. I'm a real pathological snowflake. Trigger alert, trigger alert, trigger alert. A real biological woman, a real diabolical
Womba.
Honestly, I feel like I'm having a part-time show. We had a power cut for about 10 minutes. We had that clip. It's brilliant. I'm barely doing anything anymore. And that's actually got into, I think it's number 2 in the Apple Music, iTunes, whatever it's called, chart in Australia or some such. I quite liked it.
I did quite like it. I liked it for its humour value. And what I like is that it's about time, okay? In the comedy industry, you're told you can... Well, you're not told. People try to tell you. Rosie Jones will tell you exactly what the rules of comedy are.
I don't know, come on. That you...
Let's just say...
That's an Ofcom waiting to happen.
Yeah, well, exactly. So she'll say you can't punch down, or they'll say you can't punch down. Well, every community that's being taken the mickey out of there has been raised so high, we're no longer punching down if you talk about trans, you're no longer punching down if you talk about the left of politics. These people are...
They're the bullies.
They are the bullies. They're the people that are held in the highest status now. So it's fantastic to see that. And I think this will make people laugh, because... What always makes people laugh, and laughing is involuntary, is when you point out the obvious. Nearly everything you laugh at is just now, particularly now, is either true.
Like, there's not a black
or
eye, that's
honest.
just a blind.
That was quite funny, Alex. But I was worried. You know, I was worried that I wasn't seeing the whole of London blacked out.
Is that blacked out London?
Yeah, London, mate.
London, baby.
Exactly. But this is great, because it's so honest, isn't it? You've got this sort of hairy leg guy with his bits and pieces tucked behind him. You can see that going on. She's saying, welcome to your country, it's not your land, which is exactly the first thing you're told when you step into a westernised country now, is essentially you're not welcome here if you look like us. Do you know what I hate?
When you go through the airport and it's got all those photographs of, like, you know, welcome to London, and I'm like, who are all these characters? Who are these? It's like some sort of weird multi-ethnic Mr. Ben. It's like, you know, here's someone from, you know, Indonesia wearing a guard's outfit. Here's someone from, you know, Mexico who's a nurse. It's just like, OK, great.
Which you wouldn't get, by the way, in any other capital city, probably. Certainly you wouldn't if it wasn't westernised. What they would do is celebrate their incumbent culture. They would celebrate their people, the people that built the city. We don't do that. We certainly don't do that in London now, and that's because of Sadiq Khan. Sadiq Khan knows who his voter base is.
Do you still live in London?
I don't live in London anymore. I know you don't either.
No, you've joined the White Flight movement.
Hampshire, I live.
Yeah.
That's where I'm from.
Whereabouts with the horses and stuff?
Yeah, I do live quite close to the country. I'm more of a country sort of guy than I am a city guy. I mean, obviously, I'm in and around London the whole time. I'm here now. It's very dark.
I really like the New Forest. That's a very special place.
The New Forest.
Doesn't?
Well, I love it too.
It's like Narnia. Like, there's a load of people who've never been to the New Forest,
really?
And I'm like, oh my goodness, it's like it shouldn't even exist. It's so good.
It's absolutely magical. If you've not been to, I'm not getting paid for this, but if you haven't been to the New Forest, go. Perhaps that's our show. Perhaps we take people who are normal. They phone in, so they're normal, and you and I, we take them to the New Forest.
There's not many normal people in the New Forest, is there?
Not many, no. Well, they're all related. That's half the trouble.
Oh, it's amazing, though. It's like, when I first went there, I knew there was, like, the wild horses. What I didn't realise is the whole of the New Forest is just every sort of wild animal imaginable that exists in the UK, just hanging out.
But
don't touch the horses.
September. No, well, you can't. No, probably don't. Actually, don't.
Not allowed to.
But in September, they let pigs out.
Panage pork. Again, people don't know about panage pork because where all the horses would get sick if they ate all the acorns from the oak trees, the horses, I don't know how they do it, get sort of moved out of the forest, and all the farmers' pigs go, gobble up all the acorns, and you can buy the pork called panage pork, and it's like our very own Iberico. It's amazing. I don't know why we don't celebrate our own stuff in the UK. There'll be people listening to this going, what's panage pork? It's like, I know, it's like we've got all this cool stuff in the UK. I need to run the UK Tourist Board.
You should. And basically, you could have pictures of all of the things you've just spoken about at the end, on the walls in Heathrow.
Right.
Because this is why you're coming here.
You could have that amazing Scuba Era in Brecon. You're like, what's that?
Exactly.
That's this waterfall that they actually fly Japanese actors from the ninja movies out to Brecon because it's one of those waterfalls you can walk behind. So they do all these sort of like complex judo moves or taekwondo or something behind the waterfall, and the waterfall's in Wales.
Incredible.
But you don't know that because they don't have it on the billboards in Heathrow.
There are so many, the Cotswolds, there are so many things you could have on the walls as you arrive into England or Great Britain, anywhere you like, that would celebrate us.
Yeah.
Not just you and me. I mean, we've
No,
been...
I think it's just been you and I on billboards instead. Welcome to England. Yeah, me scratching.
We would look out of place on that wall.
Me scratching and looking inside my Diet Coke.
Remember that Diet Coke? You can't get that no more.
Yeah, you can't get that anymore these days. It's gone. Right, now, we've also got a video of the latest in what are the police doing now via the courtesy of Ring Doorbell. These are police in Crowborough, which, of course, have had all these... well, it's only 27 so far. The first 27 of rotating castles, about 2,000 invaders who are now sort of put up in military barracks in that tiny little Sussex town. And naturally, people have been wanting to protest it. And the police... kind of, I don't know whether this is creepy or if I don't know what's going. Let's just watch it. Let's watch it.
Let's watch it.
Crowborough.
In prison. Okay, yeah.
It's just to see civic in the and upcoming future that we can assist in the way to. It's the. Have you got any more coming up?
I haven't planned any protest.
Are you attending any?
Yeah, I will be.
Do you mind if I ask where?
Yeah, I do mind.
It's purely so we know if we can assist anyway if they do occur. That's all. Yeah.
In what way? What way would you be able to assist me?
Road closures.
Okay. So you're actually trying to help us?
We always like to prevent anything going wrong with these sorts of events. You know, we can help.
Who's gave you my details? Where have you got me
It's
from?
not something I'll be able to go into. We got to go into that.
Right. So has someone raised concerns about me?
Not entirely. It's purely so we are aware of the events.
Yeah.
That's one thing.
Okay.
But also we like to make sure that they go smoothly with no issues because also we support those who have a message to share, and we'll always help if we can. You know, we can prevent any sort of confrontation at those events.
Yeah, what is going on there? Like, we know who you are. We want to assist you. Now, we know that with previous protests outside, I mean, the Bell Hotel in Epping, the police were allegedly bussing in the far-left activists.
Allegedly, Alex.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
I see, I got my allegedly in there. Don't you worry about that. I got it in there.
Done the Ofcom training.
Yeah. Oh, no, I've compliance Claire will have my guts for garters if I didn't say the word allegedly. I'll have my guts for garters for just mentioning her, no doubt. Sorry, Claire, I love
Sorry,
you.
Claire.
You know I really love you. Let's big hug. What was that?
So much sinister going on there. But look, we all seen this type of thing before, where the police turn up at the doorstep. And by the way, all this lady did was attend a protest. Which you're allowed to do. That's totally okay, by the way. But the most sinister thing for me was the police's attitude, which was, we're your friend. Tell us some stuff.
Hey, you're going to another? You're organising one?
We'd like to help you out. Road closures, you know, where is it? Might as well come and give you a cuddle. It's like...
It's like, you know that dead body? Do you want us to help you bury it?
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, okay, it's in the shed.
But I don't know whether this is... Maybe we're so distrustful of the police, because actually a lot of protests, in theory, if you're going to do it properly, you actually contact the police beforehand and say, we want to sort of march down here, there and everywhere, and they say, right, thank you for letting us know, that makes it a legal protest, etc. And so it is... A lot of protests are actually coordinated with the police, but I think we've become so distrusting of the police force that watching that, you can't help but feel that there's something kind of harrowing about it. Maybe they were just being nice and doing their job and being perfectly polite, the poor men.
No, I don't think we are being too harsh here. The police have got a tough job to do. Let's just say that, so that Claire's happy. But evidence would show us that up until this point, when it's come to protests that aren't in line with the government's view, then they've clamped down incredibly hard. Remember the far-right bandwagon? Remember what happened in Southport? Remember people going to prison? Remember the poor guy who hung himself in prison? Remember Lucy Connolly?
Awful.
I mean, of course you do. I'm saying this for our viewers. This is why we look at this now in a worried way, because those guys have come to the doorstep, but how did they know she was at the protest? They're monitoring the protest, obviously. Why are they monitoring the protest? What don't they like about the protest? Why are they knocking on the... you know, this sounds like a middle-aged lady. Well, they're knocking... She's obviously not a problem. She's not the main instigator. As she pointed out herself, you know, yes, I am going to go to other protests. No, I'm not going to tell you where, because she doesn't trust them. And neither should she, because people have been imprisoned for doing just that.
No, exactly. People have been sort of, you know, the Rosas have come around, knocked on people's doors for far less even, not that she's even done anything. We do live in a dystopian Britain. I tend to think with that one, I must admit, I actually think that the sort of, the motive was probably decent and the police officer was probably decent. I think. That's my read of that.
Yeah, let's go with
but
that.
it's just... the fact that we instantly now, it's a bit like when you get the story in the newspaper and it says there's been a sex attack and anyone who is in the region of, you know, Queen's Park at 6:30, can you contact the police on this number? It's like, what's the description? What did he look like?
Yes.
Because you know when the details aren't given. Immediately now you go, I bet. But that's kind of like, you know, we've just been gaslit so much. It's like the boy who cried wolf or something. We've been gaslit so much that we just immediately assume the worst now.
Well, exactly. And do you know what? There was a time where we would have been more supportive of the police. The police, look, the individual police officers, they're not responsible.
Yeah.
Even their direct line management are not responsible. We go all the way up to the police college where it's completely wokeified, it's completely indoctrinated. So maybe these people think that they're doing good, but knocking on people's doors and saying, why are we at a protest? When's the next protest? You can tell us. They've picked up the role of the baddie instantly.
Yeah.
Those are the, you know, when we used to have stranger danger and we, you know, people would come to the door, we weren't allowed to go out to play with them. Now it's
police
the
danger.
police.
I know.
Has a policeman knocked at your door and asked you any questions? Yes. Don't get in the van. Don't have any of the sweeties.
Yeah, I'm slightly disappointed that I haven't had a collar felt yet. I sort of feel like, what are you waiting for? Anyway, we're going to take a short break now. Not that you haven't had enough of them already, but we are going to, well, fingers crossed with the technology, we are going to come back just afterwards. So don't go anywhere because I've got some more hilarious video footage for you.
Welcome to Down the Local, the show that goes from pub to pub across the country, speaking to the punters about the subjects driving us all nuts at the moment.
That's Rachel Reeves, Rachel Thieves, Rachel McCounts.
I don't really know Meghan Markle. I know Meghan Markle's from Sinks, that's about it.
I don't know about anyone else, and I don't know where this is going. I have 0% beers, and I feel
Raising the flag, I think, is symptomatic of this desperation.
Is public transport good value for money?
No, it isn't.
You really don't like speaking to people.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
All right, welcome back. And look, I'm not sitting here scratching like a flea-ridden dog. Paul said, I sent his mate a message, I'm going to be on the show of Alex. And she just messaged, no, it's just silence and Alex scratching herself. I'm like, great, not my most brilliant, glorified moment in the role of presenting, but there you go. Hey-ho, happens to the best of us. I could have been picking my... There's a lot of work, because we didn't actually know you could see me. So there's a lot of worse things I could have been doing, frankly. Thankfully, I didn't do any of them. In fact, I could have been doing what Dawn Butler's been up to, which is just making herself look like a moron. I don't know what has gone on with politicians now. That they're just not serious anymore. Like, what the hell what is this?
I'm at the Fish in Chip Bar in Islington. Here are my chips. Let's see. First of all, you know what we have to do? Whoops. The salt and the onion vinegar. and the onion vinegar, and the salt, and the onion vinegar. The onion vinegar's getting in my eyes. Okay, and just for good measure, let's do our taste test. Ooh, lots of vinegar, very hot. These are nice, quite crunchy on the outside, fluffy on the inside. Good dose of vinegar. Not bad. Not sure it beats my chips in Brent though, but I'll eat some more and find out.
Literally, is that like?
That's it.
What is that? So she actually claims a lot of money in expenses.
Hundreds of thousands, a couple 100,000 last year.
What, to go and taste chips? Which, according to Dawn Butler, is probably white supremacist, cuisine. Because she made some weird rap video at one point about, I don't know, something very...
It was something about white people not being very good, Alex.
Yeah, it was basically about... No, Jenny, it was basically about that.
Yeah.
Like, Dawn Butler loves sort of having a pop at everything being racist, and there she is having, like, traditional fish and chips.
Yeah, first of all, just on that, what's really interesting now is for many years, people didn't... White people didn't say, hang on a minute, what have I done to you? What have we done in the last 300 years? It's been my problem. And now all of a sudden, people are starting to go, yeah, what's this got to do with me? And this looks to me like a lady who hasn't got anything else to do. I know she's trying to engage with her constituents by talking about chips. And, fair play to her. But
I wonder how many views that thing's got.
Probably hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, probably actually, because it did go viral, so it probably has.
It probably has, because it appeals to the young people who look at that and go, this is the type of leader we need. The type of leader who's got nothing else to do but eat chips. The trouble is, the country itself, let alone the planet, is not in a position where people have got time, particularly if you're in power, to sit around eating chips. There's so much to sort out. And I think, because it's Labour in power now, and all the things that are bothering us, they are responsible for in some way.
See, but the thing is, like, the naffication of politics. I much prefer vigilante Jenrick chasing people through tube stations. Yes. That was good. And then at one point, Chris Philp got into the mix and was sort of like making videos scaring people at those sort of like tent cities. And I was like, whoa, they're all sort of competing on the Tory side to become sort of mercenaries, right-wing mercenaries. And then the Labour Party are doing, I don't know what that is.
Well, they're trying to be an antidote, I assume. But the problem is, everything that Robert Jenrick and his chums are pointing out in their videos is true. This isn't just the opposition to Labour going, crikey, we need to sort this out. It is an emergency. Our country is a mess.
What do you think the Conservative version of that would be? It's like, oh, let's go and taste some port. I'm going to go to my private members club and...
I'd love to see.
Oh, well, good body on that. I think I've got... Oh, I think that must have been the 1963 vintage. I mean, that'd be absolutely classic. I'd love to see Rees-Mogg do that.
I bet he's probably never had fish and chips in paper. He's probably had it on a silver plate, perhaps. But I'd love to see him in a chip shop, not knowing what to do.
Do you think he's ever eaten? I bet he has to use cutlery.
Oh, he's never had one of them stupid wooden forks. Never. No way.
Do you not think?
No, no.
I bet he's never had the curry sauce with
I mean, he's a lovely guy, Rees-Mogg.
Oh, he's lovely.
He really
Apparently
is.
he makes his own cider.
I bet he does.
No, he does, which is
Somerset's
music to my ears, because I
cider.
love cider. I'm like, I literally want to get a message out there to Rees-Mogg, send me your cider. Send cider, talk towers for the attention
Cider,
of Alex.
please.
Yeah, that'd be good. I'd love that.
Does he sell the cider?
Well, I don't know.
No,
I don't know
he
anything
can't
about the mystery. I wonder what he calls it.
Mog's Brew.
Because you get some really good some really good cider.
Some
names.
lumpy cider that makes you sort of hallucinate.
My favourite cider, one of my favourite ciders, is Jungle Janet.
I don't know. If, I might have met her once, but I don't think I've ever had
Jungle Janet. Apparently, it's just the name of the cider maker's wife, Janet. Jungle
Really?
Janet. Oh, it's a makes you tick. It's sort of, you start twitching
And is
when you
this
have
just
that
like
one.
a West? Could you buy this throughout England, or can you?
No,
or
you probably have to go straight to the source. You have to go right
Straight to
into
Janet.
Yeah, straight to Jan. Yeah, get a box, and it's back in box stuff. It's not like
Really?
sort of, no, yeah,
Comes in
proper
someone's
cider.
sock.
Yeah, no, the bladder of a sheep. That's how we do. That's how we roll. But you get some really good cider names. Cider's proper stuff. What really annoys me is all of these IPAs. And, like, why is it that every single... You go into some pubs in London and you've got, like, almost optics of IPAs where every single beer badge is some sort of robot in space or a teddy bear with, like, sort of, you know, knife through his head. Why?
But I don't know who they're appealing to. Yeah, I have noticed that, actually.
IPA labels, it's like teddy bear crosses. I just actually scratched my own cornea then.
Well, what they do is they try and make... Because they fruitify everything, even ciders. Cider was already kind of delicious. It's apples, for goodness sake. But they've added all these other...
Oh, I can't be dealing with that fake news cider when you have to make it mango and stuff.
Yeah, I prefer the lumpy stuff that comes in a bladder too. But what I would say is that they've got to put these teddy bears with daggers through, because everything's been childified. I don't know what the word is, but everything's like, oh, it's a strawberry and bubblegum flavour, yum, yum, yum. But you know, you can't sell that to big, hairy men.
No, do you know what? I like a good stout.
Do you?
Yeah, you can't really... Everyone just thinks there's Guinness and that's it. I'm like,
there's loads.
Loads of stouts are good.
Well, there have definitely been...
Porter's even better.
Yes.
Porter's a proper stuff. You feel like it's something from a Dickens novel.
Sort of thing your dad would drink when you were a kid growing up.
Yeah, it's like a tonic, a porter. You know that you're sort of like basically mainlining iron.
It's a medicine.
It is a medicine, I'm telling you.
I'm sure there are children out there
that have porter for breakfast.
By porter.
Yeah, no, I bet there is, like, back in the day when they used to, like, spoon-feed your porter when you're crying at night. That was the greatest generation. These are the people who fought in World War II and beat the Nazis.
Because they were all drunk, Alex.
Yeah, that's what's going wrong now. In fact, my ex-partner, because we still message each other from time to time, sent me a message the other day going, they really need to bring back the rum ration in the Navy. And I was like, yeah, they probably do, actually.
Yeah,
Good call,
They stopped doing that, I think. Right into the 90s, I think they did that. I'm from Portsmouth, you see, so I'm aware of naval-type stuff. And the first jobs I ever had were sort of around the Navy. And they did have the rum right the way till the 90s, I'm sure they did. A tot of rum every night. Now, obviously not now.
We don't even have any admirals left, do we? Let alone the rum. We've just got no admirals left in the Navy.
They're all trans now as well.
They're all like the Jean-Paul Gaultier perfume bottle, like going around on, you know, dinghies crossing the other direction.
We are only winning a war now if we can tickle the opposition to death.
To be honest, I actually think if, like, you know, the Russians came over in their sort of U-boats, whatever it is that they have, their subs, they'd sort of come over, surface, and then they'd take a look at Britain and go, nah, let's get back over there. It's like, not yet, keep it. Too far gone. Let's talk now about brilliant trigger warnings. I love a trigger warning. Oh, God. I haven't even read this article yet because I was like, what's it going to be? Have you actually, do you know what it is?
It's Brum.
It's Brum! Why? Why does Brum have a trigger? What is this? Why does it have a trigger warning?
So, right, it was an accident. If you get so I was getting all gammoned about this, reading and going, this is unbelievable. What has Brum ever done? And you get to the end, and the BBC have accidentally done it.
Oh, is it?
I mean, there was a lot of beeping, so maybe Brum was saying some swear words. That was what I was thinking. Yeah, maybe behind all the beeps, there's a lot of F and Jets.
He'd had his naval ration, hadn't he, old Brum? You filthy-mouthed little car. But no, the trigger warning said this series was originally aired in the 90s and early noughties and may reflect the language and attitude of the time. Basically, the pinnacle of civilization.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That was exactly it. So I was thinking, did I watch Brum? I did. So I'm 46 now, which meant in 91 I was 11. Right, so just beyond Brum, maybe at 11. Maybe I was too cool for Brum then. But I do remember Brum being on and around. And it was just...
How old are you?
I am 46.
So we're basically sort of similar generation. What was your favourite kids' programmes growing up?
Oh, man. I was partial to the Poddington Peas, actually.
Oh, my gosh, down at the bottom of the garden.
Among the birds and the bees, there are a lot of little people called the Poddington Peas. The Poddington Peas. Woo! Yeah, that was Dean. The producers look at it as if to say, "Have you just made all this up?"
Yeah, people are just like, "What have we tuned in? It's gone crazy. Nobody knows anymore." But no, there was some good stuff. Pugwash would never be allowed now.
No, absolutely. No, so right the way back, like Rainbow and Pugwash and. The thing is, the folklore about Pugwash has kind of overtaken from what the truth was.
The reality.
I don't think there was a Roger the Cabin Boy.
I don't think there was.
I don't think there was. But, you know, we're all convinced there was because the Jokers told us that there was. But there was some stuff right away.
Trapdoor was amazing.
Yes, I liked all that sort of stuff. Will-O-the-Wisp. Do you remember Will-O-the-Wisp?
Do you want to hear a little interesting thing about Will-O-the-Wisp? And there's sort of... Will-O-the-Wisp are these sort of weird lights that appear on Dartmoor, Exmoor or something.
Yeah.
There's a theory they could be aliens. Orbs.
I believe it. already, especially Dartmoor.
Yeah,
Have you ever been there?
Everything's aliens in this day and age. I listen to way too much Joe Rogan. I like the Shard built by aliens. That's actually just a cosmic, pylon that's communicating with some sort of planet Zog.
Zog, it's always Zog, isn't it?
It's always Zog. What is Zog? But no, I used to love Trapdoor. Did you ever watch Trapdoor?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Well, and
it was on ITV.
Because I'm going to directly quote. I like to keep Claire on her toes. I'm going to directly quote some Trapdoor because it was one of those brilliant series where it was clearly penned for the kids and the parents of the kids simultaneously. Yeah. And he used to have a really good sort of West Country accent. Burke, the main big.
Is that why you liked it?
Big blue guy. Burke. Boney, Grat. And there was one thing where, and things used to come out of the trapdoor all the time, because he couldn't help but open that thing. No. And there was one series where the trapdoor had opened up and creatures kept coming out, and he kept having to whack them over the head like whack-a-mole. And it's like, oh, 1, 2, 12, I loves a bit of bonking. It's bonking time. You're like, this is absolutely brilliant.
Well, we were all laughing along at that time, thinking yes, but the adults were loving it. It was great, actually. I said it was on ITV, and I almost exclusively watched BBC growing up. From a council estate, I should add. So don't.
Yeah, I think I probably did, actually.
Back in the day, you were either a BBC kid or an ITV kid. I felt to me like that did differentiate people.
Did Gladiators used to be on BBC, or was that ITV that is now BBC? I thought it was ITV originally, yeah, because I have this sort of memory of watching Gladiators then changing to the BBC for like Noel's House Party or something.
Yeah. Actually, it's a good point. I assumed it was always BBC.
No, I think it started. It's like I love
with like John
Gladiators.
Fashanu and all that. When he was one of the referees, wasn't he? Yeah. One of the presenters, John Fashanu. Who else was? I do remember it.
Chris Akabusi used to go Awooga. Yeah. Oh, it's brilliant.
I do remember Jet as a teenage boy.
I've had Jet on this programme. Jet is sound. Jet is like absolutely sound. Yeah, she's like one of us. She's like Team Us. We love a bit of Jet.
Has she still got the leotard? I mean, what?
I hope so. I bet she's still in good nick mind.
Is she?
Yeah. Well, she was never going to age badly, was she?
No,
Let's be fair. That was always going to. Yeah. That was always going to be a woman in fine fettle. Right, we're going to take an advert break because Lord knows where this conversation is going to go. So let's just pull the shutters down temporarily, regroup, and then bring them back up in a matter of seconds.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Oh, these messages. So my producer sort of star messages for me to read, or otherwise I can go into the sort of main bin of messages. And I went there and there were some not nice ones. And I was like, no!
Read them out.
Shall I?
Are they about me?
No, actually, let's read out a mean message, shall we?
Yeah, why not? I like that.
OK, so taking a while. Can Alex grow up? She must be married to a most tolerant man. No, we split up. That explains everything. She should get back to the West Country where her immaturity may fit in.
Oh, look. What a loser. Who has got the time on a Tuesday? Thank you for watching, by the way. You're not a loser. Cheers.
Oh, well, no, all opinions. Don't you worry, we'll be going back to the West Country in 15 minutes' time. There you go. Anyway, if we're talking cider, it's Black Rat, says Jen in Wolverhampton. I totally agree. Black Rat is amazing.
Sounds great. Sounds like I would want to try it.
Wiltshire, Chippenham way, I think.
Right.
Wiltshire way. Then it got bought out by a brewery, and then the brewery got bought out by another brewery, and now it's like, hard to find.
Really?
It's become a niche product. It used to be regularly everywhere. Clayton in Dartford said, I bet Jacob Rees-Mogg has never mistaken mushy peas for guacamole. Has anybody ever mistaken mushy peas for guacamole?
I thought so. I mean, I can kind of see...
Do you mistake mushy peas for guacamole, Clayton? Because you might be the only person on television. Claire in Buckley, North Wales says, what a cracking bit of TV. During your computer electric glitch, you stayed on our screens. I thought you'd realise when you frantically started pointing to your left. But it's obviously the moment you thought London had been plunged into darkness. Paul, it's the blind. The blind leaving the blind. I'll tell you what the problem is. As regular listeners know, I got my handbag nicked. And my
I saw that on X, actually.
My glasses were in there. I can't see anything anymore. I literally sort of like going on like this, going, oh, can someone read the train timetable for me? It's like, honestly. Wow, I love that Holly Valance record. It was great, says Phil.
Wasn't it?
From Portsmouth.
From Portsmouth?
Portsmouth, Pompey. Pompey
Two of
Phil.
us from Pompey.
And Pete in Southend, who clearly likes you a lot, says, tell Paul I noticed he shaved the beard. But I haven't got my glasses on, but I can still see beard on your face. Why was it bigger?
No, I just didn't have a shave. So I didn't have a shave over Christmas, and that's the only thing people have noticed about me. And I've just kept it. Mainly kept it because people keep... Wherever I am, they email in and
it's
go...
It's a bit gingery. You're going to become one of those Muslim converts.
They all are. Alex, they all are, aren't they? Every single one. I don't know what the link is. That's where science needs to step in. What is the link? No, I will shave it at some point because it's not great.
And hi, Alex, you want politically incorrect word? Oh, I can't, sorry. But I loved it. It's Hev from Kent who says, I have two names for my disability scooter and both are absolutely brilliant and both will definitely get me into trouble if I read them out. But I enjoyed it. Anyway, here we go. Talking about offensive things, apparently dozens of anti-littering signs which have been placed by volunteers across Peterborough could be removed after the council said it received complaints that some were offensive. And so the examples of the offensive signs is one, don't toss litter.
Poor old litter, he's not going to get tossed anymore.
Steady. And well, this one I can see a little bit, is a little bit more fruity, just take your crap home.
Yeah, I think these are good. I think they're good because it makes you pay attention when you see there's a little bit of innuendo. And, you know, come on. We should as well. I think there's been a problem. I think people brought up in the 80s and 90s during the Keep Britain Tidy campaign.
Oh my gosh, that was such a thing. At school, we were constantly told, don't touch pylons, don't go on railway tracks, and don't, you know, throw rubbish out of car windows.
I've forgotten about the pylons, so true.
Yeah, I literally lived in fear of being electrocuted all the time. You'd be walking through fear and it'd be like, oh, it's going to get me.
It's so true.
It's like a thing.
I've forgotten no one says that anymore, do they?
Electrocution was a big deal.
And if you see a lot of the new housing estates now, they're built under massive great pylons.
No, don't mind that anymore.
I don't care anymore.
And there's also, like, don't fall in dog poo because you'll get a worm in your eye and go blind.
That was it, wasn't it? You'd always go blind from dog poo. I remember falling in, because you do. I mean, you do all your falling in dog poo as a kid, really. You should, if you've fallen in dog poo as an adult.
And nettles. Like, just, you know, I don't really get stung by nettles anymore.
Or custard. I don't have enough. I think I ate 90% of the custard I've ever eaten before 10.
Yeah,
Not
and
10
custard's
PM,
good.
as in 10 years old.
Bring back custard.
I want custard.
Do you know what I've got in my fridge at the moment? And I'm going to have it when I get back, because I'm cool. I've got a tin of mandarins, little mandarin segments.
What is it, 1987?
And some evaporated milk.
Right, this is ridiculous. Sort of thing I used
I'm going to get those two together and fill my face when I get home.
I would go to my nan's on a Sunday, Nan and Grandad, both not with us anymore, and I don't know why I needed to say that. I didn't need to say that regularly. They'd be dead a long time.
I was at a funeral today, genuinely.
They were probably in their 20s, of course.
Let's keep the spirit alive.
But, that is what I would have.
Yes, that's my granddad's favourite.
And evaporated milk.
It's the best.
Was a treat.
You need to get down a shop and get some of that and taste it again, because you'll be like, I don't know why I stopped.
In a can. Mandarins in a can.
Mandarins are the best. What, you're just going to list fruit in cans now until the end of the programme?
Show out.
Yeah,
just me
fruit cocktail,
bananas in a fruit cocktail. It wasn't very exotic, though,
fruit cocktail's a bit gross, actually. Didn't really like that. But also, like trifles. Where have trifles gone?
Well, that's white supremacy, isn't it?
People make trifles anymore.
It's white supremacy, I expect.
And pineapple and cheese hedgehogs.
Now, they
were pinnacle.
Are the pinnacle of
humanity.
They were pinnacle. They were, honestly, do you not do that now? We have
Well,
house
no, I
party.
haven't.
We make cheese and pineapple every time.
Do you still do it?
100%.
Oh, mate, you live in Hampshire, you can touch horses, you make cheese and pineapple. I'm totally coming down. I'm inviting myself over to your next party.
You're more than welcome.
Sounds
That's
like
all it is.
life.
Bring the evaporated milk, for
Oh, no, I'm
goodness
going to
sake.
make a homemade trifle with tinned summer cocktail
You are right,
in
though.
it.
The 80s and 90s were...
It was peak civilization.
That was it. It's all
Yeah,
been downhill
because
since then.
honestly, like women used to go about necking pints, going like, "Ugh, we can be like men," and instead of having to look like a Kardashian, which to be fair is a lot of money and a lot of hard work, and make kids go dysphoric and then rather be men, instead you'd just wear like combat trousers and a vest, and that was sexy.
I don't think the Kardashian thing's that attractive either. I'm not saying
No,
these are
it's
unattractive
weird.
people, but
Everyone looks the
it's
same.
the complete antithesis of what was attractive during that period. You remember the joke used to be, does my bum look big in this? Now, they want the bum. They want a massive bum.
That suits me, actually. And,
Yeah,
you know,
well,
fashion's
a lot of
caught
women
up
are
with
very
my
grateful, I
aesthetic,
guess.
can I just say? You know, back in the day, it's like, oh, God, I'm a monster. Whereas now it's like, oh, I'm curvy. So I'm not against that at all. What are you saying, Dean? Oh, I've got to take a break. There you go.
Oh, no.
The voice of God has spoken. But don't go anywhere, because I will be back for the little bit at the end.
Welcome to Down the Local, the show that goes from pub to pub across the country, speaking to the punters about the subjects driving us all nuts at the moment.
That's Rachel Reeves, Rachel Thieves, Rachel McCounts.
I don't really know Meghan Markle. I know Meghan Markle's from Suits. That's about it.
I don't know about anyone else, and I don't know where this is going. I have 0% beers, and I feel
Raising the flag, I think, is symptomatic of this desperation.
Is public transport good value for money?
No, it isn't.
You really don't like speaking to people.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
So we've decided to take us to the end of the show. We're just going to get Paul Cox listing the A to Z of things in tins.
Yes, and we were talking just then about corned beef in tins, which I consider this, and maybe the viewers did too. I consider it quite posh if it came in a tin.
How did it come otherwise?
Well, you can go to the delicatessen.
And get it sliced. No, that's the posh bit. That's from a delicatessen. Hand-sliced corned beef from a delicatessen is somehow less posh than that. Also, can I just say, meat in tins. All other tins, you get your tin opener out, it's a circle. Tin openers are unreliable at the best of times.
That's true.
They really, I don't know why. It's a
Why
bit
has there
like...
not been an investigation?
It's a bit like printers. Why have they not sort of changed that technology since 1972? All printers are rubbish. Most tin openers are pretty sketchy. But why is it with corned beef, they still insist on putting it in a square tin with that weird little key that you turn and you get this ribbon of like a blade that unfolds.
Razor sharp.
Yeah. And then to try and get the corned beef out, you risk sort of like, you know, lacerating your hand.
I wonder how many dustbin men have lost their fingers because of corned beef tins.
I know. And I'm surprised
we
they still
created a
get
whole
away
show
with
here.
it.
This would be... Give it a year. This is what it'll be. Us talking tin stuff with Alex and Paul.
Well, do you know why this has happened? It's because Dean was down the boozer earlier, so he's just like, well, I'll just get Paul Cox in the studio. You'll fill the airtime. But yeah, no, Spam, I'm a huge fan of.
Yes. Spam was quite. I had Spam sandwiches, corned beef sandwiches.
I like all sort of pork products in tins. Me and my mate Will used to, when we lived in Kenya, right? My mate Will and I lived in Kenya for a year. And you get a lot of preserved goods in Africa. You just do. You wouldn't probably do in Britain as well, but they're very, you get a lot imported from all over the world. So we actually made a chart of the best tinned pork meats.
Is that where it ended? You and Will, eh? Are you still connected? Are you still connected to Will?
My best
still writing a list now as a
still
WhatsApp group?
No, but actually it got even worse. So it started off as the best tinned pork meat. So there was sort of like, lots of items from Indonesia because they love a tinned pork meat.
Sounds delicious.
From the Netherlands, we were just like, well, what's the jelly content? There's bits of bone. Sometimes you come across an interesting chewy bit.
You get a bone inside the tin meat.
Yeah. Especially the more exotic ones.
I don't like the jelly. I'm suspicious of the jelly.
But then it degraded into, especially in Africa, you get a lot of those sort of weird sausages that, like Frankfurters, but Frankfurters compared to the things you get in Africa are like, like...
So, did they taste good?
Like caviar or something. The sort of weird sausages, processed sausages you get in Africa are like, what is that?
But nice? Well, did they make yours and Will's list?
When we started making the list of different kenchiks, as we just called them, because often they were made of chicken.
Oh, right, OK, gotcha.
Yeah, sort of factory scrape, I don't know. Like
who knows?
You know when you watch a video of how they get the meat off the, centrifugal bones in a barrel and then it comes this sludge and then...
I've avoided it because that sort of food is my...
It's basically like human pet food, isn't it? It's like, my cat goes crazy for these little chewy sticks and basically we're there in Kenya,
Didn't do you any harm though, Alex, did it?
We actually based this chart, wasn't so much on how delicious we found it. We got so ghoulish, it ended up being how much gristle.
Oh.
And the gristlier, the better.
The
it was just like,
content.
that one almost broke a tooth.
See, that could be a TikTok channel. All of that could be better than Dawn and Keir any day.
Yeah.
You'd have millions of followers. Just you and Will. Where is Will now?
Will is in Kent, but he's about to go back to the Bahamas because he still goes all around the world doing election work. Yeah.
Oh, right, OK.
I know, he basically gets paid $1,000 a day to sit on a beach and occasionally be asked to talk about a billboard or something. Now, I'm sure it's more complicated than that.
Yeah, but whatever it is, that sounds amazing.
I know. They actually were saying to me, oh, do you want to come out on the project? I'm like... tempting, to be honest.
Yes, I bet it is.
I mean, they're going to have to make me a good offer here because I'm like, pina colada,
$1,000 a day on the beach, that'd be lovely.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really go wrong with that.
Can I just check, are we still on air?
Yeah, we are. We're just filling time now because we've basically got 1 minute 45 to go.
Oh, God, let's keep going.
Well, until we start doing the A to Z of listing things in cans, which is, I thought, what we were going to do.
I've had such a lovely conversation.
OK, hold on, here we go. Let's fill up the last minute of what is the worst thing you can get in a can, in your opinion?
Oh, a dead body.
What?
If you had a dead body in a can, you'd think it was the worst
thing. But you can't get a dead body in a can.
I hope not. But, if something dies in the factory...
Depends what country you're buying the food from.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, it's probably touch and go in some places.
You wanted a serious answer, I could tell by the look on your face, Alex, and I would say it will be meat with extra jelly. Anything with extra jelly.
Oh, no, that's the best!
No, I'm sorry.
No!
Pork pie... See, people love that, don't they?
Oh, the pork pie.
What is the jelly, by the way?
That's the aspic.
Aspic.